Record to computer. Hello and welcome to tonight's reading of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with the Quarantine Theater Company. I would like to welcome everybody here. We have a newcomer, Scott. Woohoo! Welcome! So tonight, our scene description, the real hero here, since this is an action movie, she's going to be working overtime, is Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. As Dr. Henry Jones Sr., we've got Charlie. As Dr. Henry Jones Jr., otherwise known as Indiana Jones, we've got Hunter, in case you couldn't tell from looking at him. As Sala, as well as other characters, we've got Scott as Marcus Brody, and a couple of characters. We've got the wonderful Travis. I will be Dr. Ilse Schneider. George Graham, he's going to be our Walter Donovan tonight. He's our resident Nazi. Just kidding, he's not a Nazi. And we also have Jeremy here as our other Nazi, Vogel. And we've got Molly, whose biggest character she's going to be is Kazim, the protector of the Grail. We also have Karina with us. She's going to be Roscoe and the Sultan, as well as several other people. We've got Kenzie with us. Welcome, Kenzie. She's going to be Panama Hat, looking for that cross of Coronado. And we've also got Marla with us. Welcome, Marla. She's going to be Fedora, the guy what gives Indy his fedora, hence the name Fedora. Yeah, okay, I don't think I need to explain that. Why did I go off on a tangent? All right, so without further ado, action.
Oh no, everyone's frozen. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yes.
But
No?
we can't see you.
Maybe so. Retro. Good job, Jen. My internet connection went dead. Can anybody hear me? I'm assuming when the record button comes on. Here we go. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Fade in. Exterior desert of the American Southwest. A mountain peak dominates the landscape. Titles begin. Riders on horseback cross the desert. From this distance, they appear to be a company of Army cavalry soldiers. Closer angles on the riders reveal only details of saddles, hooves, and uniforms. The riders are silhouetted against the rising sun as they ride into an ancient cliff pueblo. The officer in command raises his hand, halting his troops.
Dismount!
Riders climb down from their mounts, and only now do we realize that this is a troop of Boy Scouts, all of them about 13 years of age. The commanding officer is only their scoutmaster, Mr. Havelock. Totally said your name wrong, dude. Sorry, bro. One of the scouts, a pudgy kid named Herman, steps away from his horse, bends over, and pukes. Blech. The other scouts rag on him.
Herman's horse-sick.
A blonde scout, however, befriends Herman. He has a thatch of straw-colored hair and the no-nonsense expression common to kids whose curiosity and appetite for the knowledge exceed what they teach in school. Additionally, he has adorned his uniform with an authentic Hopi Indian woven belt.
Chaps, don't anybody wander off. Some of the passageways in here can run up for miles.
Two Boy Scouts climb up the rocky base of the cliff. Interior, the passageway. The two boys head down the passageway. It's dark and the temperature drops several degrees. Spiders have built huge webs that get caught in the boys' hair. Herman appears very uncertain as to the wisdom of this enterprise, but he's drawn on by his companion's adventurous curiosity.
I don't think this is such a good idea.
Laughter is heard. The blonde scout pulls Herman forward towards its source. The voices grow louder now as the boys get closer to their source. The light of kerosene lanterns dances on the tunnel walls ahead. The boys approach cautiously, careful to stay hidden.
What is it?
This is what they see. 4 men digging with shovels and pickaxes. They have broken into one of the Pueblo's secret chambers called Kivas. The men are Rough Rider. His name describes his dress. Roscoe, a Bowery boy bully of 14, and half-breed, with straight black hair that cascades over his shoulders. And the 4th man wears a leather waist jacket and brown felt fedora hat. Oh my God, it's the hat! He has his back turned to us, but we would be willing to bet anything that this is Indiana Jones. However, when the man turns and his face is illuminated by the lantern's glow, we are shocked to discover that it is someone else. We'll call him Fedora. Titles end. The two boys are mesmerized by what they see. We realize that the blonde scout is actually young Indiana Jones.
Alfred, did you see anything yet?
Nothing. Dig in.
Two of the men stand and look at Roscoe, who steps forward holding a box in his hands. Ruh-roh, you're muted, Roscoe.
I've got something.
Whoops come from the other men. Whoop whoop.
I got something, Garth.
Roscoe rushes forward and gives Fedora the box. Fedora steps toward a lantern resting on a rock.
I got something right here.
More whoops from the other men. Whoop whoop. Fedora puts the box on the rock next to the lantern. Half-breed pushes Roscoe as he jumps with excitement. Rough Rider steps forward to look at the box as Fedora opens it.
Oh, look at that. We're rich. We're rich.
Shut up. Shut up.
Fedora takes a bejeweled cross from the box and holds it aloft. Fedora's comrades practically salivate at the sight of it.
Well, we're rich, ain't we?
Indy takes off his hat and looks down at the off-screen action.
Indy? Indy, what are they doing? Indiana! Indiana!
Shh!
Fedora blows dust from the cross, turning it in his hand, silently appraising its beauty and its value. He seems aloof from the others, somehow superior to them.
Hey, we gotta find more stuff to bring back.
Indy stays hidden, but he is astounded by what he sees.
It's the Cross of Granado. Cortez gave it to him in 1521.
Fedora continues to admire the cross, then places it on the rock next to its box and the lantern. Indy turns back to observe the men.
Run back and find the others. Tell Mr. Havelock that there are men looting in the caves.
Well, Indy, tell us a little bit more about this cross. This is my favorite line.
That cross is an important artifact. It belongs in a museum.
Thank you.
Now run back and find the others. And tell Mr. Havelock that there are men looting in the caves.
Herman doesn't seem to be listening. Instead, he watches in wide-eyed horror as a snake slithers across his lap.
Have him bring the sheriff.
Indy matter-of-factly picks up the snake and tosses it aside. Herman gasps.
Snake.
I'm not going to feel that way for long, Indy. Indy grabs Herman's scout scarf and pulls him closer.
Did you hear what I said?
Right. Run back. Mr. Havelock, the sheriff. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. I'll think of something.
Indy releases the scarf, gives Herman a pat, and Herman dashes off. Indy sees the cross on the rock next to the lantern. As the robbers continue to search for additional valuables, Indy is able to work his way unseen to within arm's reach of the cross. Fedora looks over at the men digging a hole in the background.
Dig with your hands.
Indy picks up the cross.
How with your mouth?
As Fedora stands watching the other men digging, Indy puts the cross in his pants and begins to pull himself up a rope hanging nearby. As he climbs, Indy's feet break a wooden beam, attracting the men's attention.
He's got our thing.
Get him.
The three robbers are so eager to get their hands on Indy, they almost knock each other over in the attempt. Only Fedora is unperturbed. He casts a disgusted glance in the direction of his fleeing companions and then sets off after Indy. Exterior, the cliffs. Indy emerges from the darkness of the pueblo into the brightness of day. He pauses, squints, shields his eyes, looks in all directions.
Mr. Havelock! Anybody! Everybody's lost but me!
He hears running footsteps behind him and dashes off. Rough Rider, Half-Breed, and Roscoe are quick to appear and run after him.
There he is.
Let's go. Let's get him. Let's go.
Indy jumps from one rock to another. The scout troop horses are below. Indy puts two fingers in his mouth and whistles for his horse, who trots over. Indy puts the cross in his belt. Indy prepares to jump into the saddle, hesitates. Then he jumps, but the horse moves exactly at the wrong moment and Indy lands flat on his feet in a standing position. The impact sends a shockwave up his body. Ow, poor knees. That rattles his back teeth. Indy stands up and successfully mounts his horse. Fedora and his men arrive at the roof's edge in time to see Indy climb into the saddle and gallop off.
Yeah! Yeah!
Hey, come back here.
Fedora puts 2 fingers in his mouth and whistles, and a vintage truck and automobile come roaring out from behind the Pueblo, driven by 2 more gang members. Now we glimpse the man in the Panama hat, the passenger in the car. His face is concealed by the hat's wide brim. His arm is out the window, however, and we see an olive-colored hand protruding from the sleeve of an expensive white linen suit. He gestures to the robbers, now in the truck.
Come on, get him.
Indy spurs his mount on to greater speeds, but the autos not only keep pace with his horse, they begin to squeeze in on it. Speeding autos, thundering hooves, rushing wind, flying dust. Indy crouched low and leaning forward in the saddle, his heart pounding, his adrenaline pumping. Indy veers off in a new direction toward a railroad track. Exterior, a circus train. A train is barreling down the track. Indy rides up beside it. He glances over his shoulder and sees the car and truck gaining on him. No other choice. He leaps from horse to train. He clings to the side of a boxcar as Half-Breed and Rough Rider leap from the truck onto the train. Half-Breed tries to grab Indy, but Indy leaps onto another boxcar. Half-Breed runs after him, but Indy leaps from the boxcar onto some covered boxes stacked on a flat car. Indy loses his balance, but regains it. With Half-Breed and Rough Rider still running after him, Indy enters the trapdoor of interior the reptile car. Woo. And finds himself crawling on a catwalk suspended from the car's ceiling. Several feet below are numerous vats containing all manner of reptiles, alligators, crocodiles, giant lizards, etc. Then Half-Breed enters through the trapdoor, followed by Rough Rider. Half-Breed grabs a hold of Indy's feet, but Indy kicks at him and he loses his grasp. Indy crawls away towards an opening on the opposite side. Half-Breed grabs at Indy's feet again. Indy rolls away and we see large bins of squirming snakes. The combined weight of the 3 people is more than the catwalk was intended for, and the bolts begin to rip from the ceiling. Everyone holds their breath, afraid to make another move. Too late. Several bolts tear free. Half-Breed and Rough Rider scream, but it's Indy's end of the catwalk that drops down, plunging Indy into the floor of the car. He lands hard with a splash into a vat of water, where he finds himself eye to eye with an enormous anaconda. The head of this snake is so damn big, it looks more like a T-Rex.
Oh.
Indy jumps back in horror, only to land with a squish into the snake vat.
Oh. Oh.
Hundreds of slippery, squirming snakes. It's just a snake, silly goose. Indy sinks into them. They cover him, engulf him, almost smother him. Indy jumps out the side of the vat, freeing himself. Indy locates a clean-out door at the bottom of the car and uses it to escape. Escape! Half-Breed, meanwhile, tries to open the closed window of the car. He groans. Rough Rider moves to assist him.
Here, let me.
Exterior, the train. Indy stops, checks to see the cross still lodged in his belt. Suddenly, he looks worried as he frantically reaches into his shirt, removes a snake from it, and tosses it away. Roscoe appears atop the reptile car and manages to grab Indy. Indy kicks at him. Roscoe grabs onto the side of the reptile car as Indy moves on to exterior, a flat car. Indy climbs over canvas-covered circus equipment. Circus. She can't talk. Roscoe follows, grabbing a long stick with a hook on it. He reaches forward and trips Indy, who falls onto the roof of a rhino boxcar. Interior, the rhino boxcar day, as a lamp falls from the ceiling with the impact of Indy's fall, hitting a huge black rhinoceros. Exterior, the rhino boxcar. Roscoe grabs Indy by the ankle and yanks him off his feet. The two struggle, rolling from side to side, coming perilously close to rolling right off the edge. Things get even more serious when Roscoe pulls a knife. In the boxcar below, the ferocious black rhino is becoming extremely agitated by the commotion going on atop his cage. Finally, he raises his head and thrusts his horn through the roof. Back to the rooftop. As the horn smashes through the wood only inches from Indy's head, Indy and Roscoe stare at the horn in amazement as they continue to struggle. Smash! The horn comes up again, right between Indy's legs. Lee. Well, Indy, I feel like you have...
Holy smokes!
There you go. There it is. Indy kicks Roscoe away. Roscoe rolls over to the edge of the car, but keeps from falling. Indy flips over onto his stomach. Exterior, the reptile car. The wooden trapdoor explodes as a bullet is fired from within. The door is pushed open and Half-Breed and Rough Rider hurry out of the car. Exterior, the rhino box car. Indy gets to his feet, looks ahead, sees a water tank. Oh God, water sounds so good right now. Alongside the track, directly up ahead. Indy gets an idea. In an instant, he calculates his approach, times the distance, and leaps for the tank's water spout. He catches it perfectly, but his velocity causes the water spout to rotate a full 360 degrees. With Indy hanging on, feet kicking, the water spout deposits him back onto the train, onto the roof of a stock car where he looks up to see Fedora walking towards him.
Come on, kid. There's no way out of this.
As Indy edges away from Fedora and his Fedora, a portion of the stock car's roof collapses and Indy falls through into the car below. Interior of the stock car. Indy crashes down from above. Dust rises.
Whoa!
Indy's eyes take a moment to adjust to the dark. A bit of sunlight leaks in through the cracks between the boards. Then Indy sees it. At the far end of the boxcar, rising slowly to its feet, an African lion. The lion roars. The boxcar walls shake. Indy gasps. Dust swirls up into the shafts of sunlight, and Indy has one more surprise in store. The cross of Cortez has been dislodged from his belt during the fall. Indy glances around, sees a coiled lion tamer's whip hanging on a nail. He carefully takes it down by the handle. The lion sees this and growls softly. Roar. Indy swallows hard and gives the whip a try. It unravels awkwardly, its tip flying back and hitting Indy in the face, cutting his chin. The lion growls louder. Roar. Indy quickly gathers the whip, wets his lips, and tries again. This time, success! The whip cracks sharply. Oh, wait. She's got a prop for that. The whip cracks sharply. There it goes. The lion bellows and swats air and steps back. Indy looks amazed and delighted. He cracks the whip again. The lion backs away even more. Indy inches forward, bends down, never taking his eyes off the lion, picks up the cross and steps back again, sweat pouring down his face. But now, how to get out? He looks up at the opening through which he fell and sees Fedora looking up down at him. Fedora extends his hand.
Toss the whip.
Exterior the rooftop of the stock car. Fedora, assisted by Half-Breed and Rough Rider, reels Indy out of the stock car as the lion roars and lunges, and Indy screams. The men, including Roscoe, pull Indy through the hole in the roof. He stands to face them as Rough Rider points a gun in his direction.
You got heart, kid. But that belongs to me.
It belongs to Coronado.
Coronado's dead, and so are all his grandchildren.
Then it belongs in a museum.
Now give me that.
Favorite line. Roscoe makes a grab for the cross, but Indy doesn't let go. A tug of war ensues until a snake wiggles out from Indy's shirt sleeve and wraps around Roscoe's hand. Roscoe screams bloody murder and releases his grip on the cross and tries to shake off the snake. This is all the opportunity Indy needs. He leaps onto the next car.
Don't let him get away.
Indy swings down to the caboose. He sees a sign above the caboose door reading Dr. Fantasy's Magic Caboose.
Magic?
Yeah, magic caboose. He glances back at the men and quickly opens the door to the caboose, stepping inside. Fedora puts out his arm, gesturing for the others not to follow Indy.
Hold it. Make sure he doesn't double back.
Interior the caboose, which contains the circus magic equipment. Indy rushes to the rear door of the caboose but can't open it. He hears Fedora coming and he dives into a magic box.
Okay, kid. Out of the box. Now.
Sorry, Fedora. You smile confidently and advance toward the box. The box unexpectedly collapses. All four sides flop away, revealing nothing. Excuse me, burp. Indy has completely vanished. Fedora is mystified, frustrated, and angered. Then he feels a breeze at his back. He turns and discovers that the caboose door is open. He rushes out onto the balcony and sees Indy running along the tracks, turning up a street of modest clapboard houses.
Damn.
Exterior street, small town. As Indy runs from the railroad tracks and approaches his house, we see the name Jones painted on the mailbox.
Dad!
Interior house. Indy bursts through the front door holding the cross in his hand. A husky barks as Indy runs past in search of his father.
Dad!
Interior the study. Indy charges in. The study is cluttered with books, pictures, charts, and maps clearly reflect the father's passion for medieval studies. Professor Henry Jones is absorbed at his desk. In fact, he is studying a very ancient parchment volume which lies open at the desk. The page shows a beautifully illuminated picture of what might be a stained glass window. The sketch incorporates a series of Roman numerals. The professor is not just studying it, he is copying it into his own notebook. We never get to see the professor's face in this scene, so Indy charges in.
Dad!
Out.
It's important!
Then wait. Count to 20.
No, Dad, you listen to me.
Junior!
Yes! No question who is the boss here. Indy gulps. His look says, what am I gonna do with this guy? And obeys, starts counting very, very faintly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now we see what Henry is concentrating on. We see his hand sketching. Then he holds up one finger.
In Greek.
Indy's reaction.
1, 2, 3. We can fix this in post, yeah? 4.
Excellent Greek. I feel like I'm in Mykonos or some shit. An ancient car is heard arriving. Perhaps Indy glimpses it going past the window. Anyway, it stops outside of the house. 2 men sit in the front seat. Herman sits in the rear, blowing a trumpet. Indy's reaction, trouble! Henry is just finishing the sketch.
May he who eliminate this illuminate me.
Oh my god, if you keep this Connery up the whole time, I'm going to be obsessed with you.
For back.
Interior of the front room. The study door is just closing. Indy closing it behind him. Just as Herman comes through the front door, still playing the trumpet. Indy reaches for the trumpet, pulling it from Herman's mouth. Herman continues to spit right into Indy's face. Indy flinches.
I brought the sheriff.
Herman means the sheriff. That's what you just said. Who now enters the house.
Just the man I wanted to see. Now, there were 5 or 6 of them.
All right, son.
They came after me.
Yeah, you still got it?
Well, yes, sir. It's right here.
Indy shows the cross, more or less handing it to the sheriff to make his point. The sheriff takes it casually.
I'm glad to see that, because the rightful owner of this cross won't press charges if you give it back.
Fedora enters the house, followed by Roscoe Rough Rider, and Half-Breed. He politely removes his hat and holds it in his hand. He nods at Indy in a friendly manner.
He's got witnesses, 5 or 6 of them.
The sheriff and Fedora are in cahoots. The sheriff hands the cross to the Fedora. Roscoe reaches in and takes it from Fedora, then runs out the door.
Yahoo!
As Roscoe runs outside, Indy sees through the screen door the man in the Panama hat waiting patiently beside the car that is parked out front. Roscoe approaches and gives the man the cross, and the man hands Roscoe some money in exchange. The sheriff tips his hat and leaves.
Good day.
Fedora remains behind for a moment. He turns and speaks to Indy in an ironic man-to-man way.
You lost today, kid, but that doesn't mean you have to like it.
Then Fedora takes off his hat and takes a step towards Indy. He holds the hat by the crown and puts it on Indy's head. Yeah. A show of respect and admiration for the boy. The hat blocks Indy's face, close on the top of the Fedora hat. The hat brim fills the screen. As the brim tilts up, we see the face of a full-grown Indiana Jones, and pow! He's punched in the face while his arms are pinned behind his back. Fade in title, Portuguese Coast, 1938.
Small world, Dr. Jones.
Too small for 2 of us.
The man in the Panama hat, years older now, removes the cross of Coronado from Indy's belt.
This is the 2nd time I've had to reclaim my property from you.
That belongs in a museum.
So do you. Throw him over the side.
The deck of a Portuguese cargo ship. It's night. Rain pours down. We're in the middle of a violent storm at sea. 30-foot waves crash across the deck. These 2 Portuguese sailors who have Indy's arms pinned behind his back propel Indy across the deck toward the rail. As they pass a bundle of fuel drums, Indy uses the 2 sailors as leverage to kick up his feet and break open the clamp on the metal bands that hold his drums together. Indy jabs his elbows into the stomachs of the startled sailors and rushes towards the man in the Panama hat. Panama hat sees Indy coming and hurries towards the ladder that leads up to the bridge. Indy withstands the force of the waves crashing on the deck and makes his way to where Panama hat is climbing the ladder. He pulls him off the ladder from behind. The 2 men fall down on the deck. Indy takes the cross back from Panama hat. A sailor delivers a powerful blow to Indy's face, sending the cross flying out of his grip and skittering across the deck. Indy grabs a crowbar and fends off 2 sailors who attack him from the sides. Indy sees that the cross is about to be swept overboard. He lunges for it. He snatches up the cross only to be knocked down to the deck by a giant wave. He struggles to his feet, managing to avoid the giant fuel drums sliding across the deck around him. Several more drums come Indy's way. He sidesteps them all because he's a boss.
Grab him. He's getting away. Grab him.
Indy turns around. Oop, almost lost my damn cup. And pummels 2 soldiers with 1 punch. Indy sees a large stevedore's hook above him, and he climbs up on the crates to reach it. He grabs hold of the hook and uses it to swing all the way across the deck, narrowly avoiding a huge wave behind him. He jumps into the rollicking ocean, still holding onto the cross. On the ship, a giant fuel drum rolls wildly, falling directly onto a crate of TNT. Whoa! The crate explodes, causing the entire ship to blow, sending an enormous orange fireball into the sky. Long shot, the boat exploding out of the water as bits of debris fall from the sky like rain. Indy bobs up in the water amid the debris, holding the cross in his hand. He grabs for something to keep him afloat. It turns out to be one of the ship's life preservers. Indy loops his arm through the preserver. Only now do we see the faded lettering on the preserver, revealing the destroyed ship's name and city of port. Vasquez de Coronado, Barcelona. Had to do it, guys. Sorry, couldn't help myself. A shredded Panama hat floats past. Exterior, college, day. Don't know why I said day that time. Students walk across the brick, tree-lined paths.
Archaeology is...
Interior college lecture hall. Dissolved too. Indy, dressed in professorial tweeds, stands before his class. He turns to the blackboard with a piece of chalk and writes the word fact.
The search for fact, not truth. If it's truth you're interested in, Dr. Tyree's philosophy classes right down the hall.
Laughter, because he's funny and rugged and charming and awesome. Interior corridor.
So if we're getting the ideas you've got about lost cities, exotic travel, and digging up the world, you're not full of maps to buried treasure, and X never, ever marks the spot.
Tee-hee. Marcus Brody approaches Indy's classroom. He peers through the window in the door to see Indy completing his lecture.
70% of all archaeology is done in the library. Research. Reading.
Interior lecture hall. Brody enters the lecture hall and stands at the rear of the room.
We cannot afford to take mythology at face value.
The bell rings. Indy stands at his desk as students begin to disperse. A pretty co-ed puts a note on the desk.
Next week, Egyptology, starting with the excavation of Necrotes by Blinders Petrie in 1885. I will be in my office if anybody's got any problems for the next hour and a half.
Brody approaches as the last of the students leaves the lecture hall.
Marcus! I did it.
You've got it. You've got it.
I'm choosing the worst lines for this. I'm sorry. Indy removes the cloth-wrapped cross from his desk. He places it on the desk and takes off his glasses as Brody examines the cross.
You know how long I've been looking for that?
All your life?
All my life.
Well done, Indy. Well done. Very well done indeed. This will find a place of honor in our Spanish collection.
Indy gathers up his books and makes his way toward the door.
We can discuss my honorarium over dinner and champagne tonight.
He turns back towards Brody, now holding the cross.
Your treat.
Yes, my treat.
Interior, Indy's outer office bursting with students all competing for his attention at once. Professor Jones! Dr. Jones! Dr. Jones! Dr. Jones! Calling Dr. Jones, etc., etc.
Shush!
Indy shoulders his way to the desk of his secretary, an overwhelmed teaching assistant named Irene. That's my middle name!
Dr. Jones, I'm so glad you're back. Your mail's on your desk. Here are your phone messages.
Dr. Jones, you promised, Dr. Jones.
This is your appointment schedule, and these term papers still haven't been graded.
Indy takes the term papers, then turns to enter his private office. Students once again clamor for his attention. Dr. Jones, wait! Dr. Jones! My grade! It's on my registration card! Indy silences the mob with a raised hand.
Okay. Irene, put everyone's name on a list and the order they arrived, and I'll see each and every one of them in turn.
The students wow, that was weird. The students descend upon poor Irene, each claiming to be first. Indy slips into his private office where he goes to his desk and finds a thick envelope with a foreign postmark on it.
Venice, Italy.
Then Indy stuffs his mail in his coat pockets, goes to the window, slides it open, and steps out into the garden. Exterior, side of college building. Indy escapes through the garden. Exterior, front of college building. Indy walks briskly toward the street, smiling, enjoying his freedom. As he arrives at the curb, a long black Packard sedan pulls up before him. Uh-oh.
Dr.
Sir, I think you
Jones.
might be muted. There we go. 3 men step out of the sedan. Everything about them speaks G-Man. The first man steps behind Indy.
Dr. Jones.
Interior penthouse apartment. Indy is ushered into a large Art Deco apartment and left alone. Numerous museum-quality artifacts are displayed around the room. Indy takes this opportunity to examine them. After a moment, Walter Donovan enters from the side of across the room. Not bad. During the brief time that the door is open, we hear a cocktail party going on in the next room. Voices and soft piano music. Donovan strides across the room towards Indy. Although in his late 50s, Donovan has the broad shoulders and trim physique of a much younger man. Dressed in a tuxedo, he exudes both confidence and power.
I trust your trip down was comfortable, Dr. Jones. My men didn't alarm you, I hope.
He shakes hands with Indy.
My name is Donovan, Walter Donovan.
I know who you are, Dr. Donovan. Your contributions to the museum over the years have been extremely generous. Some of the pieces in your collection here are very impressive.
Like yourself, Dr. Jones, I have a passion for antiquities. Have a look over here. This might interest you.
Donovan goes to a table where an object is wrapped in cloth. He throws back the cloth, revealing a flat stone tablet, about 2 feet square, inscribed with letters and symbols. Indy looks impressed. He puts on his glasses to make a closer examination.
Well, it's sandstone, Christian symbol, early Latin text, mid-12th century, I should think.
That was our assessment as well.
Where did this come from?
My engineers unearthed it in the mountain region north of Ankara while excavating for copper. Can you translate the inscription?
Translating the inscription is no easy matter, even for someone as knowledgeable as Indy.
Who drinks the water I shall give him, says the Lord, will have a spring inside him welling up for eternal life. Let them bring me to your holy mountain in the place where you dwell.
Donovan pours champagne into several fluted glasses as Indy reads.
Across the desert and through the mountain to the canyon of the crescent moon, to the temple where the cup that...
Suddenly, Indy stops and looks up at Donovan with a startled expression.
Where the cup that holds the blood of Jesus Christ resides forever?
Holy Grail, Dr. Jones. The chalice used by Christ during the Last Supper. The cup that caught his blood at the crucifixion that was entrusted to Joseph of Arimathea.
Indy rubs his chin with a dubious expression as he takes a glass of champagne Donovan now offers him.
The Arthurian legend. I've heard this bedtime story before.
Eternal life, Dr. Jones, the gift of youth to whoever drinks from the Grail. That's a bedtime story I'd like to wake up to.
An old man's dream.
Every man's dream, including your father's, I believe.
Indy stiffens slightly at the mention of his father, nods.
Grail lore is his hobby. He's a teacher of medieval literature, the one the students hope they don't get.
The door opens and Mrs. Donovan steps into the room. Mrs. Nazi. She's a matronly woman in an expensive evening gown.
Walter,
Honey?
you're neglecting your guests.
I'll be along in a moment, dear.
He leans over and kisses her cheek. Mrs. Nazi. I'm just kidding. Mrs. Donovan sighs to herself and returns to the party. Indy, meanwhile, has turned his attention back to the Grail tablet. Obviously hooked by its archaeological promise. I'm laughing at the chat. He moistens his finger with champagne and rubs it over the tablet. What a waste of alcohol. Rude, Indy. Donovan steps up next to Indy.
Hard to resist, isn't it? The Holy Grail's final resting place described in detail.
What good is it? This Grail tablet speaks of deserts and mountains and canyons. Pretty vague. Where do you start looking? Maybe if the tablet were intact, you'd have something to go on, but the entire top portion is missing.
The same, an attempt to recover the Grail is currently underway.
Indy has to shake his head at Donovan's apparent lack of judgment.
Let me tell you another bedtime story, Dr. Jones. After the Grail was entrusted to Joseph of Arimathea, it disappeared and was lost for 1,000 years before it was found again by 3 knights of the First Crusade, 3 brothers to be exact.
Yeah, I've heard this one as well. 2 of these brothers walked out of the desert 150 years after having found the Grail and began the long journey back to France. But only one of them made it. And before dying of extreme old age, he supposedly imparted his tale to a Franciscan friar, I think.
Not supposedly, Dr. Jones.
Donovan produces an ancient leather-bound volume with very brittle pages. Indy views the manuscript with considerable interest.
This is the manuscript in which the friar chronicled the knight's story. It doesn't reveal on location of the Grail, I'm afraid, but the knight promised that 2 markers that had been left behind would. This tablet is one of those markers. It proves the knight's story is true, but as you pointed out, it's incomplete. Now, the second marker is entombed with the knight's dead brother. Our project leader believes that tomb to be located within the city of Venice, Italy. As you can now see, Dr. Jones, we're about to complete a great quest that began almost 2,000 years ago. We're only one step away.
That's usually when the ground falls out from underneath your feet.
You could be more right than you know.
Yes?
We've hit a snag. Our project leader has vanished. Along with all his research, we received a cable from his colleague, Dr. Schneider, who has no idea of his whereabouts or what's become of him. I want you to pick up the trail where he left off. Find the man, and you will find the Grail.
You've got the wrong Jones, Mr. Donovan. Why don't you try my father?
You have. Your father is the man who's disappeared.
Exterior residential street. A Ford coupe speeds down the tree-lined street. Exterior Professor Henry Jones's house. The Ford coupe pulls up in front of the house. Indy climbs from the car and hurries up the walkway. Brody is a step behind.
Your father and I have been friends since time began. I've watched you grow up, Indy, and I've watched the 2 of you grow apart. I've never seen you this concerned about him before.
Well, Brody, that's because he disappeared, bro. They climb the porch and notice that the front door is ajar. They exchange a quick look of concern as they enter. Interior of the house. Indy approaches the half-open front door.
Dad? He's an academic, a bookworm. It's not a field man.
He pushes open the door. He enters the house and calls out.
Dad! Dad!
Indy opens one half of the curtains dividing the hall from the sitting room. We see the place has been ransacked. Brody sees Indy's face and opens the other half.
Dear God.
They walk into the room.
What has the old fool got himself into now?
I don't know. But whatever it is, he's in over his head.
Brody picks up some mail from Henry's cluttered desk.
Dad!
It's today's mail, and it's been opened.
Indy turns and sees the pile of torn papers and envelopes. Then something hits him.
Neil, that's it, Marcus!
Sorry, I got distracted. He immediately empties his pockets of his own mail taken earlier in the day from his college office and finds the envelope with the Venice postmark.
Venice! Italy!
What is it?
Indy uncovers a small book. It looks like a journal or a diary. Indy flips through it, page after page of handwritten notes and drawings. Brody glances at it with great curiosity.
It's Dad's Grail diary. Every clue he ever followed, every discovery he made, a complete record of his search for the Holy Grail. This is his whole life. Why would he have sent this to me?
I don't know, but someone must want it pretty badly.
Do you believe me, Marcus?
As Indy asks the question, he turns to a painting on the wall, a depiction of Christ on the cross, his blood being captured in a golden chalice. A second painting on the wall shows 11th century crusaders plummeting to their deaths over a high cliff. Wow, that's some weird-ass art choices. One crusader, however, floats safely in midair because he holds the Grail in his hands.
Do you believe the Grail actually exists?
The search for the cup of Christ is the search for the divine in all of us.
Brody sees that Indy is unsatisfied by this response.
But if you want facts, Indy, I have none to give you. At my age, I'm prepared to take a few things on faith.
Call Donovan, Marcus. Tell him I'll take the ticket to Venice now.
I'll tell him. We'll take two.
Exterior airfield. A limo is parked beside a private airliner that bears the Donovan corporate logo. Brody peers inside to Donovan and Indy.
Tell me, what's going to happen when we get to Venice?
Don't worry, Dr. Schneider will be there to meet you.
Schneider.
I maintain an apartment in Venice at your disposal.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you.
Brody and Donovan shake hands. Indy steps from the back seat of the limo. He turns back to Donovan and shakes his hand.
Dr. Jones, good luck. Be very careful. Don't trust anybody.
Foreshadowing. Interior airliner flying. Indy opens the Grail diary and thoughtfully turns through the pages. He stops at one page and glances at a pencil sketch of what might be a stained glass window. Below the sketch is a series of numbers. Exterior, the private airliner flying. Superimposed over a map that traces a course from New York City to Venice, Italy. Dissolve 2, exterior Venice boat landing. Indy and Brody disembark from the water bus onto the boat landing as other gondoliers steer their boats in the water.
Venice.
Yes, how will we recognize this Dr. Schneider when we see him?
I don't know. Maybe he'll know us.
Why it gotta be a he? Suddenly, a woman comes up to him. Attractive features, blonde hair, eyes that are bright and intelligent, probably blue.
Dr. Jones?
Yes?
I knew it was you.
She looks at him with an appraising expression that is brazenly flirtatious. You get it, girl.
You have your father's eyes.
Indy is instantly attracted to her. She hot.
And my mother's ears, but the rest belongs to you.
Looks like the best parts have already been spoken for.
Giggity. Indy grins, enjoying the repartee. The woman turns to Brody, who tips his hat.
Marcus Brody?
That's right.
The woman is Dr. Elsa Schneider. Extends her hand to Brody.
Dr. Elsa Schneider.
Indy's grin fades. Brody registers a look of surprise.
How do you do?
Cut 2, exterior Venice canal. Damn it, Jen. Try that again. Exterior
Did
Venice
you say
canal.
Venice Canal?
I almost did. It was
I probably would have done that.
Right there.
It's a very Travis thing to do.
I know. Damn it, Sanet. Anyway, Indy, Brody, and Elsa walk along the narrow canal lined with buildings on either side.
The last time I saw your father, we were in the library. He was very close to tracking down the knight's tomb. I had never seen him so excited. He was giddy as a schoolboy.
Who? Attila the Professor? He was never giddy, even when he was a schoolboy.
Indy can't take his eyes off Elsa. Let it go. Perhaps he's feeling a bit like a schoolboy himself right now. As they cross over a bridge to the opposite side of the canal, Indy steals a flower from a street vendor. He holds it out to Elsa.
Fraulein, will you permit me?
I usually don't.
I usually don't either.
In that case, I permit you.
Indy gives her the flower.
You make me very happy.
But I'm already sad. By tomorrow it will have faded.
And tomorrow I'll steal you another.
I hate to interrupt you, but the reason we're here is...
Yes, I have something to show you.
She hands a slip of paper to Indy.
I left your father working in the library. He sent me to the map section to fetch an ancient plan of the city. When I got back to his table, he'd gone, with all of his papers, except for this scrap which I found near his chair.
Indy extends the scrap of paper to Brody.
Roman numerals.
Sorry, I got distracted again, because jokes. Exterior Venice Piazza. Oh, I love that word. Elsa leads Indy and Brody into the large piazza. People walk about and sit at tables in front of a large building in the piazza.
Here is the library.
They have arrived at the front steps of the library.
That doesn't look much like a library.
It looks like a converted church.
Elsa leads the way inside. Interior, the library. Indy, Brody, and Elsa enter, their heels clicking across the marble floor. We notice, along with Indy and Brody, that the library contains many stained glass windows.
In this case, it's the literal truth. We're on holy ground. These columns over here.
She indicates 4 huge marble columns that go from floor to ceiling.
Were brought back from the spoils of war after the sacking of Byzantium during the Crusades.
Indy glances at the columns, then notices a stained glass window that depicts a knight of the Crusades. Indy lingers for a moment in front of the window.
Now, if you excuse me, the library is closing in a few minutes. I'll arrange for us to stay a little longer.
The minute Elsa is out of earshot.
Marcus, I've seen this window before.
Where?
Indy whips out the Grail diary and opens it to the sketch he noticed in the airplane.
Right here, in Dad's diary. You see?
Brody glances at the diary, then at the window, noticing that the Roman numerals in question have been worked into the window's design.
Look, Indy, the Roman numerals.
Dad was onto something here.
Well, now we know the source of the numbers, but we still don't know what they mean.
Indy and Brody now see Elsa approaching. Indy quickly tucks the diary back into his pocket.
My dad sent me this diary for a reason. Until we find out why, I suggest we keep it to ourselves.
Find something?
Indy doesn't reply. He's looking in 5 directions at once, his eyes moving across the walls and ceilings, charged with the thrill of discovery.
Yes, 3, 7, and 10. That window seems to be the source of the Roman numerals.
My God, I must be blind.
Dad wasn't looking for a book about the knight's tomb. He was looking for the tomb itself.
Elsa wears a blank expression.
Don't you get it? The tomb is somewhere in the library. You said yourself it used to be a church. Look.
Indy's eyes travel up one of the 4 huge marble columns.
3.
Indy looks again to the stained glass window. He points.
3.
Indy has discovered that each column is numbered with a Roman numeral. Indy hurries away toward column 7. All Brody and Elsa can do now is try to keep up with him.
7.
He points again to the stained glass window.
7. 10.
He looks down to the scrap of paper in his hands.
And 10. Now where's the 10? Look around for the 10.
Indy walks past aisles of book-lined shelves. He stops, turns, then looks down.
3, 7, and 10.
He climbs a spiral staircase leading up to a loft and looks down at Brody and Elsa. The floor beneath their feet is an elaborate title design containing a huge X, visible only from this higher angle.
10. X marks the spot.
He said it! Indy rushes down the staircase and goes down to the center tile where the 2 sides of the X intersect. He blows dust away from the tile and tries to pry it up, but cannot. Indy rushes past Brody to a cordon held in place by a brass stand underneath the stained glass window. Indy raises the brass stand and, timing his actions, he hits the tile precisely as the librarian stamps a book. Librarian regards the stamper curiously. Indy continues to pound at the tile as the librarian resumes his stamping, still puzzled by the sound echoing through the library. What? Finally, Indy breaks the tile. As he bends to remove the pieces of broken tile, a 2-foot square hole is revealed. Cold air and a wet, rancid smell escape from the hole. Blech.
Bingo.
You don't disappoint, Dr. Jones. You're a great deal like your father.
Except he's lost, and I'm not.
Lower me down.
Indy is impressed with Elsa's spirit and cooperates agreeably. Hell yeah. Giggity. Holding her by the hands and lowering her into the hole. There's a joke there. When her feet finally touch ground below, Indy releases his grip on her and slips the Grail diary to Brody.
Look after this for me, will ya?
Then Indy disappears into the hole. Interior catacombs below library. Indy jumps down a steep step. He reaches back to help Elsa.
Come on.
Indy and Elsa glance around. This really is a horrid place. Dark and dank. Foul smelling. Elsa turns. She removes a cigarette lighter with a unique ivory 4-leaf clover design. Indy and Elsa inspect markings carved onto the walls.
Pagan symbols, 4th or 5th century.
Right. 600 years before the Crusades.
The Christians would have dug their own passages in the burial chambers centuries later.
Indy takes the lighter from her and lights their way down a dark passageway.
That's right. There's the night of the First Crusade entombed down here. That's where we'll find him.
Interior library, 3 men carrying guns make their way down the spiral staircase towards an unsuspecting Brody. One of the men, Kazim, raises his gun and brings it down hard on Brody's head. Kazim gestures with his gun toward the now unconscious Brody. The other 2 men take Brody's hands and drag him into one of the book-lined aisles. Interior, another part of the catacombs. Decomposing corpses rest in niches carved into the stone walls, grotesque skeletal remains with rotting linen stretched across blackened bones. Giggity. Indy holds the lighter up as he and Elsa inspect symbols carved into the walls. Elsa spots a symbol cut into the wall that she doesn't recognize as she blows away some cobwebs.
What's this one?
Indy only has to give it a quick glance to know.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Indy holds the lighter up and he and Elsa enter another dark passageway, another part of the catacombs. Indy steps to the wall and runs his hand over the stone. He scrapes the cobwebs away to reveal Roman numeral X.
Watch out.
Elsa now holds the lighter as Indy rams his shoulder into the wall. The wall collapses on impact and Indy falls through into another room in the catacombs. As Indy falls through the hole in the wall onto rocks surrounded by bubbling, green, slimy liquid. Ew. More skeletons surround him, resting in their carved niches. Elsa holds the lighter as she peers at him through the hole in the wall.
Petroleum. It'd sink a well down here and retire.
Indy reaches up and tears a piece of cloth from one of the skeletons, which breaks apart and falls into the oil slick water. Indy uses the scrap of cloth and a bone to fashion a crude torch. Giggity. Which he then dips into the oily water.
Give me the lighter.
Okay. Another part of the catacombs, using the cloth-wrapped bone torch to guide their way. Indy and Elsa come upon a narrow passageway. The water is knee-deep and teeming with rats. Thousands of them crawling on one another's backs. Gross. Where's Pizza Rat in all this? Squealing, squirming, thrashing in the water.
Oh, rats.
Elsa gasps as the rats scamper between her legs. Giggity! Oh, get it together, Jen. Indy moves forward through the rat-infested water as Elsa follows, still gasping in horror. Me too, girl. Suddenly, he slips into a hole. Recovering his balance, he reaches out to Elsa.
Come on.
She gasps once again, terrified. Indy lifts her and carries Elsa as he moves forward. Yeah. The catacombs, in the hole in the wall. Kazim and his men step to the opening Indy made earlier and shine their flashlights through to the rat-infested waters. Another part of the catacombs, more rat-infested water as Elsa, now walking again, ruining those fabulous shoes, follows Indy through another passageway lined with skulls and bones. Indy reaches for a wall to steady himself and inadvertently grabs a skeleton. Gross. A bone comes loose in his hand. Gross again! As rats scurry about and leap at him from all directions. He takes a moment to compose himself, then steps across the water to Elsa's side. He steps into the water, then reaches up to help Elsa do the same.
Come here.
Large burial chamber. The chamber is flooded with black, briny water.
Look.
In the center of the chamber, jutting up above the water, is what amounts to an island altar on which several ancient coffins rest. They move towards the altar. Indy and Elsa begin to inspect the ornately carved coffins like the scholars of antiquity that they are. These are big oak caskets held together by straps of etched brass.
It must be one of these.
Look at the artistry of these carvings and the scrollwork.
One coffin is elevated above the others.
It's this one.
Together they begin to push on the lid, straining and groaning, until it slides away and bangs against the stone platform. Inside the coffin lies the decomposed remains of a knight in armor. Indy and Elsa look in, and Elsa gasps.
This is it. We found it. Look, the engraving on the shield. It's the same as on the Grail tablets. The shield is the second marker.
Indy unfolds a piece of paper and holds it over the shield.
What's that?
It's a rubbing dad made of the Grail tablet.
The missing portion of the rubbing is completed by the shield.
Just like your father, giddy as a schoolboy.
Indy laughs.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if you were here right now to see this?
He would have never made it past the rats. He hates rats. Scared to death of them.
You're one to talk, snake boy. Close on a hand.
Where?
As it lights a match. Pull back to reveal Kazim, dropping the lighted match into the oil slick water. Indy and Elsa. Elsa holds the torch. Indy looks around, listens. Something is wrong. And then he sees the glow of firelight dancing across the catacomb walls. And this is followed by thousands of rats fleeing from around the corner of the narrow passageway, stampeding towards Elsa and Indy, shrieking and squealing as they approach. They don't want to die. The rats literally wash over them like a rodent tidal wave. Ew, rodent tsunami in their efforts to escape a huge orange ball of fire roaring around the corner, hurtling towards them. Is that a dog? Feeding on the oil slick, consuming the oxygen. Elsa screams.
Get back. Back against the wall.
Sorry, I didn't giggity for straining and groaning, bro. Indy braces his back against the altar and topples the coffin with his feet. It crashes against the stone platform and splashes into the water.
Quick, under it.
They jump into the water beside a bobbing, overturned coffin.
Air pocket.
Elsa hesitates. Indy literally dunks her and pushes her underneath. Under the coffin, Elsa surfaces into the air pocket created by the coffin, sputtering and spitting. Giggity. Now Indy pops up into the air pocket. He looks at Elsa. They are both soaking wet. Giggity!
Don't wander off.
What?
Indy disappears under the water and swims out from under the coffin.
What?
Under the water, Indy swims, looking for an escape route. Under the coffin. Oh, sorry, under the water, then under the coffin. The rats are beginning to force their way inside, swimming through the water and climbing on Elsa, who squirms and screams in terror. Indy pops back up through the water.
I think I found a way out. Deep breath.
Elsa groans. They take a deep breath and both dive under the water. Exterior, Venice Piazza! Outdoor cafe. The perfect picture postcard, St. Mark's Square and the Grand Canal beyond. Said it right that time. Cafe customers are startled to see Indy and Elsa climb out of the sewer, wet and smelly. Indy looks around at the postcard perfect setting in the piazza and smiles.
Ah, Venice.
Indy's delight, however, is short-lived since Kazim and two other Turkish agents are running towards them with drawn guns. He grabs Elsa by the hand and the two of them run down into the down to the dock and leap into a motorboat. Interior, the motorboat. Indy fires up the engine and pulls away from the dock, but not before a Turkish agent jumps in with him. Elsa grabs the wheel and begins to steer the boat, while Indy and the Turk trade punches. Pew, 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 pew. Exterior, the harbor. Indy's speedboat bounces across the choppy waters, heading in the direction of the docked steamship. Kazim and his men rush to two more speedboats tied to the dock, and they chase after Indy. Indy grapples with the Turkish agent. As Indy grips his arm, we see a gun in the agent's hand. It fires. Pew! As Indy fights with a Turk, he becomes aware of the speedboats behind him and two enormous fire freighters. Jesus, Jen. She's just thinking of firefighters because giggity. Ahead of him, joined together by two giant ropes. Indy, having gained the advantage, leans on top of the Turkish agent.
Are you crazy? You don't go between them.
Elsa can barely hear Indy over the noise of the motor.
Go between them? Are you crazy?
I love this one. Indy finally delivers the punch that sends the Turkish agent flying overboard. Turning, Indy sees that Elsa has committed the speedboat to a course between the two freighters, now being pushed even closer together by a tugboat.
I said go around.
You said go between them.
I said don't go between them.
It's purely academic at this point, since the hulls of the two freighters loom up on either side of them like cavern walls. Exterior, full shot, the harbor. One enemy speedboat chases Indy between the two freighters, but the speedboat containing Kazim veers off and goes around like not an idiot. Exterior, between the two freighters. It's a race for daylight as the two freighters drift ever closer to one another. Indy's speedboat just manages to squeeze through the gap. Mind the gap. But the enemy speedboat explodes as it is crushed between the two freighters, flying into the air and splashing back down into the water. Indy and Elsa spin their boat around in a sharp half circle to see Kazim's speedboat appear racing towards them. He stands in the moving boat, firing a machine gun at Indy and Elsa. Pew, 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 pew. Kazim's speedboat matches Indy's move for move. Full shot, the harbor. Oh no. Sorry, I got too drunk, giggity. The two boats race across the water nearly side by side. A shattering machine gun from Kazim's boat splinters the wood of Indy's boat until finally the rear of the boat catches on fire. The machine gun runs out of ammunition. No more pew. Kazim puts it down and takes control of the wheel from one of the Turkish agents in the boat with him. As Indy's boat drifts towards the giant turning propellers at the stern of another steamer, Kazim's boat draws alongside them and hits them. Indy steps into Kazim's boat. He knocks one of the Turkish agents into the deck, then turns his attention to Kazim. The two men trade punches as the boat spins helplessly in the churning water.
No!
Indy kicks Kazim in the face, bam, knocking him into the water, then pulls him back on into the boat, now being sucked through the churning water towards the steamer's giant propeller blades. Don't become propeller blade guy, Indy.
Why are you trying to kill us?
Because you're looking for the Holy Grail.
My father was looking for the Holy Grail. Did you kill him too?
No.
Where is he? Talk or you're dead. Damn it, tell me! Tell me!
If you don't let go, Dr. Jones, we'll both die.
Then we'll die.
My soul is prepared. How's yours?
By now, half the boat has been chopped up into matchwood and the blades are just getting closer.
This is your last chance.
No, Dr. Jones. It's yours.
The wind of the blades is on their necks. Indy grabs Kazim just in time and jumps into the motorboat driven by Elsa, which gets alongside in the nick of time.
All right. Where's my father?
If you let me go, I will tell you where he is.
Who are you?
My name is Kazim.
Why are you trying to kill me?
The secret of the Grail has been safe for 1,000 years, and for all that time, the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword has been prepared to do anything to keep it safe.
Kazim pulls back his shirt to reveal a birthmark. Or is it a tattoo? Whatever it is, it's a cruciform sword. A Christian cross which tapers down like the blades of a broadsword.
Let me off at that next jetty.
The boat is close to the edge of the canal. Indy gives Elsa a nod, telling her to bring the boat in. Kazim steps ashore.
Ask yourself, why do you seek the cup of Christ? Is it for his glory or for yours?
I didn't come for the cup of Christ. I came to find my father.
In that case, God be with you in your quest. Your father is being held in the castle of Brunwald on the Austrian-German border.
Kazim walks away. Interior Venice apartment. Close on the water-soaked paper impression. The rubbing taken from the shield of the Grail Knight. Brody is giving it a careful study while he dabs the lump on the back of his head with an ice pack.
How's the head?
It's better now. I've seen this name. It's the name of a city, Alexandretta.
Indy, wearing a bathrobe, leans over to study the impression.
The Knights of the First Crusade laid siege to the city of Alexandretta over a year. The entire city was destroyed.
Brody lowers the ice pack from his head and looks at Indy.
The present city of Iskenderun is built on its ruins. Marcus, remember what the Grail tablet said. Cross the desert through the mountain to the kin of the crescent moon. Where exactly?
Your father would know. Your father did know. Look, he made a map.
Brody picks up the Grail diary.
He must have pieced it together from clues scattered through the whole history of the Grail quest. A map with no names.
Insert a pencil-drawn map, and it covers 2 pages of the diary. Brody's finger moves across it.
Now, he knew there was a city with an oasis due east. Here he knew the course turned south through the desert to a river, and the river led into the mountains. Here, straight to the canyon, he knew everything except where to begin. The name of the city.
Alexandretta. Now we know.
Yes, now we know.
Marcus, get a hold of Sala. Tell him to meet you in Iskenderun.
Indy closes the Grail diary and puts it into the pocket of his robe.
What about you?
I'm going after Dad.
Interior, Indy's bedroom. Indy opens the door. His bedroom has been ransacked. The mattress on the floor. The drawers turned out. Interior, hallway. Indy approaches another door, Elsa's bedroom, and knocks.
Elsa.
He goes in, interior Elsa's bedroom, and finds that Elsa's bedroom is in a similar ransacked state to his own. The room is empty. He is worried for her, knocks and calls out.
Elsa!
He steps into the room and knocks upon the bathroom door.
Elsa?
He opens the bathroom door, peering inside, giggity.
Elsa, do you want to build a snowman?
Do you want to build a snowman? Exterior Elsa's bathroom. Elsa is standing before a mirror, wearing a silk bathrobe. She gasps, startled, as Indy enters. He retreats back into her bedroom as she reaches up to turn off a record player sitting on a ledge above the bathtub. Interior Elsa's bedroom. Elsa joins Indy, waiting in the ransacked room. She looks around in shock.
My room.
Mine too.
What were they looking for?
She looks to Indy, who pulls the Grail diary from his pocket. Dumbass.
This.
The Grail diary?
Mm-hmm.
You had it. You didn't trust me.
Rightfully so. She looks hurt and beautiful. She comes closer to him.
I didn't know you.
She's awfully hard to resist. Should have resisted.
Is that my conscience? At least I let you tag along.
Sorry.
Oh yes, give them a flower and they'll follow you anywhere.
Knock it off. You're not mad.
No?
No. You like the way I do things.
It's lucky I don't do things the same way. You'd still be standing at the Venice Pier.
She stomps her foot angrily. Indy flinches. She starts to walk away, but Indy grabs her.
Look, what do you think is going on here? Since I met you, I've nearly been incinerated, drowned, shot at, and chopped into fish bait. We're caught in the middle of something sinister here. My guess is Dan found out more than he was looking for. Until I'm sure, I'm going to continue to do things the way I think they should be done.
He pulls her to him and kisses her.
How dare you kiss me?
Now Elsa reaches for Indy and kisses him.
Leave me alone. I don't like fast women.
Yeah, you do. But he embraces her, and Elsa begins to nibble at his ear.
And I hate arrogant men.
Indy smiles slyly as they fall to the bed. See, told you like fast women. Exterior Venice Canal.
I do.
A gondolier sings as he steers his gondola, carrying two passengers past Indy's window. Interior, Indy's bedroom. Indy lies on top of Elsa, kissing her. See? He stops for a moment as he hears the gondolier singing.
Venice.
Elsa reaches up and pulls him back down to her. Exterior road through the Austrian mountains. A Mercedes-Benz glides through the sharp mountain curves. This is superimposed over a map that charts their course from Venice across Austria towards Salzburg. Exterior castle in the Austrian mountains. Storm clouds darken the skies. Thunder explodes in the distance. Lightning flashes. A Mercedes-Benz let's try that again, Jen. Mercedes-Benz drives into the courtyard of the formidable stone castle. There we go.
What do you know about this place?
I know the Brunwalds are famous art collectors.
Interior Mercedes-Benz. Indy reaches into the back seat and retrieves his bullwhip.
What are you going to do?
Don't know. Think of something.
He glances up to the beret Elsa is wearing. She reaches up and adjusts it. Interior castle entrance hall. I forgot about this part. A butler walks to the door and opens it to reveal Indy and Elsa standing outside in the rain. She now wears Indy's fedora, and Indy is wearing Elsa's beret. Yes, Elsa!
Yes.
Indy, followed by Elsa, steps inside, shaking the water from his overcoat. He adopts a Scottish accent.
I'm not for time. Did you intend to leave us standing on the doorstep all day? We're drenched!
Indy says that he pushes his way past the startled butler, pulling a handkerchief from the man's pocket. Elsa follows, taking off her coat. Indy sneezes hard.
And look, I've gone and caught a sniffle.
Indy dabs at his nose with the handkerchief as Elsa looks on in amused amazement.
Are you expected?
Don't take that tone with me, my good man. Now bottle off and tell Baron Burnwell that Lord Clarence McConnell and his lovely assistant are here to view the tapestries.
Tapestries?
Dear me, the man is dense. This is a castle, isn't it? There are tapestries.
This is a castle, and we have many tapestries. But if you're a Scottish lord, then I am Mickey Mouse.
How dare he!
Simultaneously moving the butler. The butler cold with one slug on the jaw, but the butler falls against the wall tapestry, sliding onto the floor, out cold. Interior castle hallway. Indy and Elsa move cautiously and quietly down the wide, vaulted hallway. Approaching voices are heard. Indy and Elsa creep past a room full of Nazi soldiers, jerk faces, working around a large table with a mat atop it. Indy reacts to the sight of them.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Indy and Elsa continue down the hallway. Indy carries a gun in his hand and his whip hangs from his belt. His whip hangs from his belt. He steps to a closed door and listens.
This one, I think he's in here.
How do you know?
Indy points out an electrical wire.
Because it's wired.
He studies the situation for a moment, then decides to enter one of the other doors. He knocks at the door. There is no response. He looks back at Elsa and enters. Interior castle room. The room is dark and empty. Indy throws open the window shutters and looks out. Rain comes down in sheets. There is a wide ledge beneath each window, but below that is a sheer drop. Indy wants to get out onto the window ledge, which is several yards away.
Indy! Indy!
Indy reassures her.
Don't worry. This is kids' play. I'll be right back.
All right. He leans out the window and wraps his bull whip around some wires that protrude from the castle wall above the next window. He gives the whip a forceful tug to make certain it will hold his weight. Exterior of the castle. Indy swings from the window to the stone gargoyle. Close on the window ledge, a pair of wooden shutters seals the window. Indy takes hold of the bullwhip with both hands, pushes off with his feet, swings toward the shuttered window with his feet extended, crashing through the wooden shutters as a clap of thunder disguises the noise. Just comes in handy. Interior of the room. Indy crashes through the shutters and glass into the room. The broken shutters hang from their hinges. Rain and cold air whip through the open window. Open window? Where? No sooner does Indy get back to his feet than a vase comes crashing down on the back of his head. Stunned, Indy sinks to one knee, and Indy's father, Professor Henry Jones, steps out of the shadows.
Junior?
Indy gets to his feet.
Yes, sir.
Knee-jerk reaction on Indy's part. Now they look at each other.
It is you, Junior.
Don't call me that, please.
But what are you doing here?
I came to get you. What do you think?
I'm so distracted by Connery. Nazi voices are heard approaching. Indy and Henry press themselves against the wall, Henry still holding the broken vase in hand. Indy steps to the window and looks down. Henry moves to a lamp, holding the vase under the light for a closer look.
Late 14th century, Ming Dynasty.
Henry is all about the broken vase, which he still holds in his hand. Father and son get onto cross lines for a couple of moments.
Oh, it breaks the heart.
And the head. You hit me, Dad.
I'll never forgive myself.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
Thank God.
Henry has clearly been concentrating entirely on the vase, and he is examining the broken end carefully.
It's a fake. See, you can tell here by the cross-section.
Henry throws the vase against the wall where it shatters.
No! Dad, get your stuff. We've got to get out of here.
Well, I'm sorry about your head, though, but I thought you were one of them.
Yeah, they come in through the doors.
Good point.
Indy steps to the door and stands listening.
But better safe than sorry.
Henry slides an umbrella through the straps of his bag.
So I was wrong this time, but by God, I wasn't wrong when I mailed you my diary. You obviously got it.
I got it and I used it. We found the entrance to the catacombs.
Through the library?
Right.
I knew it. And the tomb of Sir Richard?
Found it.
He was actually there? You saw him?
Well, what was left of him.
And the shield? The inscription on Sir Richard's shield?
Alexandretta. It's a great moment in Harry's life.
That's weird. Yeah, that's totally
the
scene description.
Oh, well.
Alexandretta.
Alexandretta! Of course! On the Pilgrim Trail from the Eastern Empire. Oh, Junior.
Indy winces and would interrupt, but suddenly it's not the moment.
You did it.
No, Dad, you did. 40 years.
If only I could have been with you.
There were rats, Dad.
Rats?
Yeah, big ones. What do the Nazis want with you, Dad?
They want my diary.
Yeah?
Indy's interest is a moment which becomes important later, but for now, it passes.
I knew I had to get that book as far away from me as possible.
Indy's hand moves unconsciously to his pocket. His eyes turn inward. Row.
Yeah.
Then, BAM! The door is kicked open and 3 Nazis enter. One is an SS officer. The other 2 are soldiers with machine guns. Henry and Indy raise their hands.
Dr. Jones!
Yes?
Yes?
I will take the book now.
What book?
You have the diary in your pocket.
Henry laughs genuinely, believing himself to be laughing at the expense of the SS officer.
Do you think my son would be that stupid that he would bring my diary all the way back here?
At which point an awful thought strikes Henry.
You didn't, did you? You didn't bring it, did you?
Well,
You did.
Look, can we discuss this later?
I should have mailed it to the Marx brothers.
Will you take it easy?
Take it easy? Why do you think I sent it home in the first place? So it wouldn't fall into their hands.
I came here to save you.
Oh, yeah? And who's gonna save you, Junior?
Indy's eyes blaze. His nostrils flare. He's so pissed off, he literally rips a machine gun from the hands of one of the startled soldiers, and for a moment, we think he's going to use it on his dad.
I told you.
He turns and sprays the room with machine gun fire. Pew, 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 cutting all 3 Nazis to ribbons and blowing them backwards across the room.
Don't call me Junior.
Henry looks shocked and horrified.
Look what you did.
Indy grabs him and pushes him ahead.
I can't believe what you just did.
In Terror Castle hallway, Indy leads Henry down the hallway as he searches for Elsa.
Elsa? Elsa!
He opens the door and enters into your first castle room. Indy and Henry rush back into the room where Elsa had been left, only to find a Nazi colonel holding Elsa hostage. His name is Vogel, a vicious-looking, lantern-jawed brute. One arm is wrapped around Elsa's waist, the other hand presses the muzzle of a Luger behind her ear.
That's far enough. Put down the gun, Dr. Jones. Put down the gun or the Fräulein dies.
But she's one of them.
Indy, please.
She's a Nazi.
What?
Indy is thrown. He doesn't know what to do. He looks at Elsa, then back to his father. Everyone is yelling at once.
Trust me.
Indy, no!
You kill her.
Yeah? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No! Don't shoot!
Indy, please do what he says.
Don't worry, he won't.
All right, enough.
And
Dies.
don't listen to her.
No, enough. I said it. She dies.
No! No!
Damn it, Elsa! Vogel jams the barrel of the Luger painfully into Elsa's neck, and now she freaking screams.
Wait!
And then, Indy gives in. He drops the machine gun to the table, and it slides across, shattering glass. Henry groans audibly. Vogel releases his grip on Elsa and shoves her towards Indy. She is propelled directly into his arms, giggity. He holds her tightly. She buries her face in his chest.
I'm sorry.
Indy comforts her.
No, don't be.
Her hand slips into his coat pocket and removes the Grail diary because she is now a Nazi bitch.
But you should have listened to your father.
She steps back next to Vogel. Indy is stunned. Henry gives him his most withering look of reprimand. Interior baronial room. A large baronial room decorated with ancient tapestries and suits of armor. Firelight from the giant fireplace dances across the ceiling and walls. Indy and Henry are ushered in, hands tied behind their backs, accompanied by Vogel and Elsa and 2 Nazi guards. Elsa crosses the room towards a high-backed chair facing the fireplace. Indy and Henry do not have the advantage of seeing who is sitting in that chair. They only see a hand reach out and take the book.
She ransacked her own room and I fell for it. How did you know she was a Nazi?
Huh?
How did you know she was a Nazi?
She talks in her sleep.
Indy nods, and then the statement catches up with him. He looks at Henry with surprise.
I didn't trust her. Why should you?
Because he didn't take my advice.
The man in the chair gets to his feet and turns, revealing himself to be Mr. Nazi Walter Donovan himself. Indy and Henry react with stunned expressions.
Donovan!
Didn't I warn you not to trust anybody, Dr. Jones?
Donovan smiles benignly and flips through the Grail diary.
I misjudged you, Walter. I knew you'd shell your mother for an Etruscan vase, but I didn't know you'd shell your country and your soul to the slime of humanity.
Dr. Schneider, there are pages torn out of this.
Elsa rushes to Donovan's side. She takes the Grail diary from him, but didn't she already do that? I think he does a mistake here. Elsa takes a look for herself, then glances up at Indy.
This book contained a map with no names, precise directions from the unknown city to the escort, or to the secret canyon of the crescent moon.
So it did.
Where are these missing pages? This map is This maps, we must have the pages back.
That's Donovan's line.
What do you think, Donovan?
Sorry.
God damn it, Dr. Schneider.
Very excited to get the Grail back.
She?
Yes, where are these goddamn missing pages? This maps, we must have these pages back.
Someone didn't go to grammar class. Henry gives Indy a look of surprise, and Indy smirks.
You're wasting your breath. He won't tell us, and he doesn't have to. It's perfectly obvious where the pages are. He's given them to Marcus Brody.
Henry now wears a pained expression.
Marcus? You didn't drag poor Marcus along, did you? He's not up to the challenge.
He sticks out like a sore thumb. We'll find him.
The hell you will. He's got a 2-day head start on you, which is more than he needs. Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. You never see him again. With any luck, he's got the Grail already.
Henry looks amazed and impressed as we head into our break.
Fuck.
Alrighty, and we are back. Shut up, Travis. I'm going to talk now. Exterior train station, city of Iskenderun. Brody disembarks from the train along with the other passengers, a cross-section of Arabs and Turks. I think that's what it means, not Tusks.
I didn't write it. Does anybody here speak English or even an ancient Greek?
Great accent, bro.
Yeah.
A man in the crowd holds out a cup of water to Brody.
No water. No, thank you. No fish, no accent. Make love with it.
What? You want to reread that line, Travis?
No, sure.
Great.
No water, no thank you, no fish. Make love in it. Yeah.
Adding fucking words in. Brody continues through the crowd past various street vendors. A woman holds a chicken out to him.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I don't like that. No, I really don't. No, thank you very much. No, thank you, madam. I'm a vegetarian, Gordon Ramsay.
The woman walks away, leaving Brody alone in the crowd.
Does anyone understand a word other than the Quarantine Theater Company I'm saying here?
Sala shoulders his way through the mob towards Brody.
Mr. Brody!
They meet and hug and then begin to walk.
Oh, Sala, what a relief.
Marcus Brody, sir. And where is Indy?
Oh, he's in Austria, a slight detour.
You're on your own?
A woman runs in and tugs on Brody's coat. He waves her away.
Yes, but don't panic. Everything's under control. Have you arranged our supplies?
Oh, yes, of course. But where are we going?
Oh, this map will show you. It was drawn by
Brody searches in his coat pocket for the map as a sinister man approaches.
Mr. Brody?
He's gonna be a jerk face. Brody puts the map back in his pocket. The sinister man clicks his heels and bows quickly.
Welcome to Iskenderun. The director of the Museum of Antiquities has sent a car for you.
Brody takes off his hat.
Oh, what? You're a servant, sir?
And I am his.
Follow me, please.
The man turns and joins a second man. Brody and Sala follow them.
My reputation precedes me.
There is no museum in Escandron.
The second man overhears Sala. He and his companion turn quickly.
Papers, please.
Oh, papers? Ah, of course.
Sala puts Brody's luggage down and glances at Brody.
Run.
Brody does not run. Sala pats his clothing, searching for his papers.
Yes?
Papers, sir. Got it here.
Sala laughs and pulls out a newspaper.
Aha, just finished reading it myself. Run!
Brody looks confused. Sala shows the newspaper to the second man.
Yes?
Egyptian Mail, morning edition. Run!
Did you say,
Sala puts the newspaper in front of the second man's face and then punches him through the newspaper.
Run!
The second man falls, knocking over a vendor's stand. Sala and Brody begin to run. Sala knocks the first man into another vendor's stand. The stand collapses on impact. Sala grabs Brody and pulls him through the crowded streets.
Okay, quick. Hide in that door. Hide in that door.
Sala points to a darkened doorway hung with a curtain at the top of a ramp. Brody runs up the ramp, throws back the curtain, and disappears into the darkness. Then, metal doors are slammed behind Brody when we realize that he's actually run into the back of a Nazi troop truck. Troop truck, street smarts. Sala runs after the truck until he reaches a wall. Then he leans against the wall dejectedly as the truck drives away with Brody inside. Interior castle room. The room is dark, ancient. Floor-length drapes cover the windows. A huge fireplace that's nearly large enough for a man to stand upright in dominates one wall. The Nazi guards have tied Indy and Henry back to back in a pair of chairs. Elsa and Donovan stand over them. Vogel enters.
Intolerable.
Dr. Schneider, message from Berlin. You must return immediately. A rally at the Institute of Aryan Culture.
So?
Your presence on the platform is requested. At the highest level.
Thank you, Herr Oberst. I will meet you in Iskendron.
Take this diary to the Reich Museum in Berlin. It will show them our progress ahead of schedule. Without a map, I'm afraid it's no better than a souvenir.
He hands her the Grail diary.
Let me kill them now. Please.
No, if we fail to recover the pages from Brody, we'll need them alive.
Always do what the doctor orders.
Donovan leads Vogel out. The Nazi guards follow. Once they are gone, Elsa turns to Indy.
Don't look at me like that. We both wanted the Grail. I would have done anything to get it. You would have done the same.
Indy shakes his head. Nope.
I'm sorry you think so.
She runs her hand down the side of his face. Giggity. Indy pulls away. Indy and Henry are still tied back to back, of course. Elsa bends to speak quietly into Indy's ear, which is near enough to Henry's ear.
I can't forget how wonderful it was.
Oh, thank you. It was rather wonderful.
Giggity. She smiles and kisses Indy passionately. Henry glances back and looks rather disappointed. Vogel appears to remind Elsa of her appointment.
Dr. Schneider! Your car is waiting.
Why are you yelling at me?
Sorry.
But that is how Austrians say goodbye.
Elsa exits. Vogel stays behind for another moment.
And this is how we say goodbye in Germany, Dr. Jones.
Vogel punches Indy in the jaw, a hard and vicious jab that snaps Indy's head around.
Oh!
Vogel exits. Indy shakes his head clear.
Oh, I like the Austrian way better.
So did I.
Let's try and get these ropes loose. We've got to get them to Marcus before the Nazis do.
He said he'd have a 2-day head start, that he would blend in, disappear.
Are you kidding? I made that up. You know Marcus, he got lost once in his own museum.
Indy and Henry are pulling at the ropes with great urgency.
Can you try and reach in my left jacket pocket?
Oh shit, my bad. Henry is able to wiggle his hand toward Indy's coat pocket. Indy squirms his body around towards Henry's hand.
What am I looking for?
My lucky charm.
Feels like a cigarette lighter.
Try and burn through the ropes.
Henry's finger opened the lighter and ignite the flame.
Very good.
Henry yelps as the cigarette lighter burns his hand. He drops the lighter to the floor. Henry keeps at the lighter, trying to reach it, but he cannot. The rug starts to burn. Indy does not know it yet.
I ought to tell you something.
Don't get sentimental now, Dad. Save it till we get out of here.
The floor's on fire. See?
What?
And the chair.
All right, move! Move! Rock your chair. Do what I do.
They begin to rock their chair legs, inching their way off the burning carpet. Exterior castle. As Elsa is driven away, Vogel and Donovan remain behind, flanked by Nazi soldiers. Soldiers. Yep, I'm trying to do comedy and I suck. Anyway, another car pulls up and Vogel holds the door open for Donovan, who gets into the rear seat. A lieutenant approaches with a written message for Donovan.
It was Richard Miner.
Donovan puts on his glasses to read the message.
Well, we have Marcus Brody, but more important, we have the map.
A radio operator steps forward with yet another written message for Donovan. Radio operator.
Osberlin, mein Herr.
By the personal command of the Fuhrer, secrecy essential to success, eliminate the American conspirators. Germany has declared war on the Jones boys. Los fahren.
The car drives off. Interior castle room. Indy and Henry are still in their chairs, tied back to back. Indy tries to communicate with Henry, but each time he calls them, the men turn their heads in opposite directions.
Dad!
What?
Dad!
What?
Dad!
What?
Finally, they turn their heads in the same direction.
Head for the fireplace.
Oh!
Banging, rocking, and hopping their chairs, they work their way into the fireplace, the only safe place from the now roaring fire.
I think I can get these ropes off.
Indy struggles to free his hands. His foot kicks out and accidentally hits a metal grill that operates a secret door.
Whoops.
The fireplace floor rotates like a lazy Susan, and Indy and his father find himself in the interior radio room, where a Nazi radio man wearing headphones sits at an elaborate panel of dials, switches, and meters, and a woman stands over a map of plotting coordinates. Their backs are turned to Indy and Henry. The floor begins to rotate again, and Indy and Henry find themselves back in interior castle room, inside the fireplace, still tied back to back.
Our situation has not improved.
Indy glances over his shoulder at Henry.
Listen, Dad, I'm almost free.
Indy's foot hits the grill again, and the fireplace rotates too. Interior radio room. 4 Nazi radio men and the woman are still hard at work with controls and coordinates. Suddenly, the woman looks up and spots Henry and Indy. She screams,
Alarm!
Now the radio man turned to see Henry and Indy.
Schnell!
2 Nazis draw their revolvers and fire several shots at Indy and Henry. Pew, 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 pew. Interior castle room. Indy and Henry rotate into the room, which is now an inferno. Burn, baby, burn. The carpet, drapes, and furniture are all ablaze.
This is intolerable.
I'm out, Dad.
Indy finally breaks free, and he immediately begins to untie his father.
Well done, boy.
Interior radio room. All 4 radio men now have their guns drawn. They activate the lever and begin to rotate through the secret door. Interior castle room. The radio men appear in the fireplace on the other side, but there is no sign of Indy and Henry. The radio men appear in the fireplace on the other side. I already said that. Damn it. The radio men move cautiously toward the flame, shielding their faces with one hand, holding their guns with the other. Is it possible that Indy and Henry escaped through these flames? Not a chance. They've hidden themselves up the chimney, and now they drop down behind the radio men. One of the radio men grabs Indy by the neck. As they struggle, they fall against the rotating wall and disappear into the next room, leaving a frightened Henry behind. Henry presses against the wall, which rotates again as he disappears into the next room. A dead Nazi radio man swivels into the room. The other Nazis rush forward to him. Interior radio room. Indy picks up a bust of Hitler and uses it to jam the rotating wall in place, sealing the Nazis inside the burning room. Interior castle hallway. Day. Sorry, I said day again. Damn it. Whatever. Vogel strides purposefully down the hallway. He barks an order, and 2 more Nazis fall into step with him. Strut. Interior radio room. Indy grabs his whip, his leather sack, and Henry's case from a table. He hands the case to Henry, and they begin to run.
Come on, Dad.
Interior secret room. Indy and Henry step into an empty room.
Dead end.
Henry looks horrified by what he's been forced to do as Indy searches frantically for an exit.
There's got to be a secret door around, passageway or something.
Indy begins to run his hands over the walls, frantic.
I find that if I just sit down and think.
Shit down and think. Henry shits on a chair, which tips back.
Shit on the floor. We get swifty in here.
The floor at Indy's feet suddenly begins dropping away. Indy grabs a railing to keep from falling, but loses his grip and plunges through the opening, which has formed a spiral staircase. He rolls down the stairs.
Dad!
The solution presents itself.
Henry follows Indy down the staircase, interior cavern, underground harbor. The stairway deposits Indy and Henry into an enormous watery cavern beneath the mountain on which the castle was built. A Nazi boat dock has been built inside the cavern. We see motorboats, gunboats, supply boats, etc. Boats!
Great. More boats.
Boats are us up in this bitch. Indy boards one of the motorboats and starts the motor.
Would you say this has just been another typical day for you? Huh?
Henry tosses his case at Indy, who catches it and angrily throws it back at his father.
Ooh, no. It's been better than most.
Indy moves back to the dock and pushes the boat away. Henry looks confused.
Come on, Dad. Come on.
What about the boat? We're not going on the boat?
Interior secret room. Vogel and the Nazi soldiers enter the room and spot the spiral staircase leading below. They quickly descend the stairs. Interior cavern, underground harbor. As Vogel and the Nazi soldiers rush to the dock, Vogel sees that a motorboat is missing. He orders the Nazi soldiers into a boat.
See ins boat. Schnell!
Camera pulls back to reveal a large box that suddenly breaks apart as Indy, now on a motorbike with Henry in the sidecar, roars past the dock, hitting two Nazi soldiers who scream as they fall into the river. Vogel screams after Indy and Henry as they drive off. Straight cut 2, exterior country road. Indy looks pleased as he drives the motorbike along the road, but Henry appears worried. 4 Nazi soldiers on motorcycles. They chase down the road after Indy and Henry. Indy turns the motorbike down a smaller, dusty, tree-lined road. Henry gasps as he is jostled about in the sidecar. One of the Nazi soldiers gives chase along a higher road, running in the same direction. Exterior road barricade. Indy approaches the barricade from one direction as one of the Nazi soldiers approaches from a higher road. The guard steps in front from the road station and calls to the vehicles as Indy and Henry smash through the barricade.
Halt! Halt!
The Nazi soldier rides his motorbike through the other side of the barrier and it shatters. Indy and Henry. Indy grabs at a flagpole as they roar past. It snaps off in his hand. The Nazi soldier drives his motorcycle towards Indy and Henry. He unshoulders his machine gun. Indy uses the broken flagpole as a lance and knocks the Nazi soldier from his motorcycle. The riderless motorcycle drives on towards the other Nazi soldiers, now approaching the guardhouse, colliding with 2 of them. The remaining Nazi soldier maneuvers his motorcycle around his fallen comrades and continues the chase. Indy and Henry. As the remaining Nazi soldier rides alongside their motorbike, he cocks his gun, preparing to fire. Indy quickly jams the remaining portion of the flagpole through the spokes of the Nazi's front wheel. The Nazi soldier's motorcycle flips 3 times, throwing him high into the air. We give him a 10 across the board for that triple. Indy glances back and smiles, but the smile fades as he looks forward again to see a sign at a crossroad. Arrows pointing in opposite directions indicate the way to Berlin or Windig. Oh, Indy starts down the road marked Windig.
Stop!
What?
Stop!
The motorbike skids to a stop, and yes, I did miss a very good joke to say 9 instead.
You're going the wrong way. We have to get to Berlin.
Roadie's this way.
My diary is in Berlin.
You don't need the diary, Dad. Marcus has the map.
There's more in the diary than just the map.
All right, Dad. Tell me.
Well, he who finds the Grail must face the final challenge.
What final challenge?
3 devices of such lethal cunning.
Booby traps?
Oh yes, but I found the clues that will safely take us through in the Chronicles of St. Anselm.
Where were they? Can't you remember?
I wrote them down in my diary so I wouldn't have to remember.
Half the German army's on our tail, and you want me to go to Berlin? Into the lion's den.
Yes. The only thing that matters is the Grail.
What about Marcus?
Marcus would agree with me.
Two selfless martyrs. Jesus Christ.
Henry slaps him across the face. Indy is rocked to his foundations, not by any means entirely by the blow itself.
That's for blasphemy. The quest for the Grail is not archaeology. It's a race against evil. If it is captured by the Nazis, the armies of darkness will march all over the face of the earth. Do you understand me?
This is an obsession, Dad. I never understood it. Never. Neither did Mom.
Oh, yes, she did. Only too well. Unfortunately, she kept her illness from me until all I could do was mourn her.
Exterior crossroads, arrows point in opposite directions to Venice and Berlin. Ow, sorry, earphone. The camera moves in on the portion of the sign reading Berlin. Exterior city square, Berlin. A Nazi rally. Gross. A book burning is in process. Grosser. The mound of burning books is 10 feet tall and growing by the minute as college students in Nazi brown shirts continually toss more books onto the fire. Flags, banners, and standards displaying the swastika are waved rhythmically from side to side in a motion that echoes the mounting frenzy of the enormous crowd. Indy and Henry walk toward the square. Indy wears the uniform of a Nazi soldier. Gross. He is now buttoning up the tunic, which happens to be several sizes too big.
My boy, we are pilgrims in an unholy land.
Then Indy sees something that makes him stop in his tracks. We pan along his line of sight to the podium, where the high-ranking officers of the Third Reich, gross, stand flanking Adolf Hitler as they oversee the rally. I promise I'll stop now. Another angle. Elsa is walking away in an open area, background of torches, vehicles, Nazi officers, one of whom is now none other than Indy, coming up to her before she knows he is there. His voice is quiet and tough, his eyes hard.
Fräulein Doctor, where is it?
Still startled, her reaction makes it clear that Indy is now, even now, a lover in her thoughts. Giggity.
How did you get here?
Where is it? I want it.
Indy pushes Elsa against a column and begins to search her clothing for the diary. He pulls the book from Elsa's pocket.
You came back for the book? Why?
Father didn't want it incinerated.
She understands him. It's as though he slapped her.
If that is what you think of me, I believe in the Grail, not the swastika.
Yet you stood up to be counted with the enemy of everything the Grail stands for. Who gives a damn what you think?
You do.
Now it's as though she'd slapped him back. His hands fly to her neck.
All I have to do is squeeze.
All I have to do is scream.
It's a standoff emotionally. He knows he'd never do it. She knows it too. And the same goes for screaming. Indy releases her and backs away. She looks at him with lover's pain. He moves over to Henry.
Got it. Let's get the hell out of here.
They move off and almost run headlong into Hitler and his entire entourage coming down from the podium. 50 kids push their autograph books for Hitler's signature. Hitler pauses to sign them. Hitler looks Indy's way. They make eye contact. It only lasts a moment, but the moment is electric. Ew. Complete anti-giggity. Hitler breaks the spell. That's so gross. Hitler breaks the spell by taking the Grail diary from him, opens it to the first page and signs his autograph. Blah. He hands it back and moves on. Exterior airfield, Berlin, Germany. Indy's motorcycle pulls up to the main terminal. Interior terminal building. A plainclothes agent distributes leaflets bearing Henry's picture to Nazi soldiers inside the terminal. Henry leans in a doorway reading a newspaper as Indy enters down the stairs and taps Henry's shoulder. They begin to walk toward the boarding gates.
What did you get?
I don't know. First available flight out of Germany.
Good.
Indy and Henry show their papers to the boarding guards, then join the line of passengers, which has already begun to move toward a moored Zeppelin. Come on, Hindenburg. 10 stories tall and longer than 2 football fields, flying in the grand tradition. Interior, the Zeppelin, passenger compartment. The Zeppelin is about to take off. Indy and Henry make themselves comfortable in one of the compartments.
Well, we made it.
Henry looks over his newspaper at Indy.
When we're airborne with Germany behind us, then I'll share that sentiment.
Relax.
But Indy looks out the window and is suddenly concerned when he sees Vogel and a Gestapo agent rushing across the tarmac toward the Zeppelin.
Ich zum Wir sagen ein. Ugh.
Back in his chair, looks at Henry, now reading his newspaper. I love you, Jeremy, so much. A steward enters and sets a bowl of nuts down the table in front of Indy and Henry, then continues down the aisle of passengers. Indy follows after the steward. He puts his arm around the steward's shoulder, and together they walk up a flight of stairs. Vogel now walks up the aisle. He approaches a male passenger hidden behind a newspaper. Vogel uses his walking stick to lower the newspaper and show the passenger the leaflet with Henry's photograph.
Haben Sie diesen Mann gegessen?
That was much better. The passengers at the table shake their heads in the negative. Vogel shows the picture to the other passengers.
9.
Version beat.
9.
Bitte.
Bitte.
There you go. Thanks
I'm doing
for
it bad on
doing
purpose.
cabaret. Oh, okay. Sorry, acting choices. Shut up, Jen. Vogel turns to see Indy wearing the hat and jacket of the chief steward.
Ich habe ihn nicht gegessen.
Tickets, please.
The passengers do not react to the request made in English.
Version, mein Dame, bitte.
Vogel approaches Henry, still hidden behind his newspaper. Again, Vogel uses his walking stick to lower the paper, revealing Henry's face.
Guten Tag, Herr Jones.
Now, Indy, still playing the role of steward, asks Vogel for his ticket.
Fernschein, mein Herr.
Weg.
Tickets, please.
Henry looks confused.
What?
Vogel glances up and recognizes Indy, who quickly punches Vogel in the face, knocking him toward the window. In another quick move, Indy tosses him out the window onto the tarmac below. Shocked passengers blink in bewilderment.
No ticket.
Everyone else with a ticket quickly procures it and waves it in Indy's face. Exterior airfield tarmac. Vogel gets to his knees as the huge Zeppelin rises into the sky above him, revealing an airplane attached to the belly of the airship. Vogel shakes his fist at the rising Zeppelin.
Du wirst Nachmal von mir.
Interior Zeppelin. Indy and Henry together again in their compartment.
You know, sharing your adventures is an interesting experience.
Yeah, that's not always shared. It's disgraceful. You're old enough to be her grandfather.
Well, I'm as human as the next man.
I was the next man.
Ships that pass in the night.
Henry opens his diary and begins to thumb through it.
Do you remember the last time we had a quiet drink? I had a milkshake.
What did we talk about?
We didn't talk. We never talked.
And do I detect a rebuke?
A regret. It was just the two of us, Dad. It was a lonely way to grow up for you, too. If you'd been an ordinary average father like the other guys' dads, you'd have understood that.
Actually, I was a wonderful father.
Oh, when?
Henry looks up from his diary.
Did I ever tell you to eat up, go to bed, wash your ears, do your homework? No, I respected your privacy and I taught you self-reliance.
What you taught me was that I was less important to you than people who had been dead for 500 years in another country. I learned it so well that we've hardly spoken for 20 years.
You left just when you were becoming interesting.
Dad, how can you?
Very well. I'm here now.
He closes the diary and leans back in his seat.
What do you want to talk about?
Indy stutters uncomfortably as Henry stares at him, waiting for a response.
I can't think of anything.
Then what are you complaining about? Look, we have work to do. When we get to Alexandretta, we will face 3 challenges. Okay. First, the breath of God. Only the penitent man will pass. Second, the word of God. Only in the footsteps of God will he proceed. Third, the path of God. Only in the leap from the lion's head will provide his worth.
What does that mean?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Sunlight falls across the table from the window. Indy reaches for the drink. The bar of sunlight turns like the hand of a clock over the tabletop across the drinks. We see Indy puzzled, only for a moment.
You're turning around. They're taking us back to Germany.
Interior framework of Zeppelin. Indy and his father emerge from the hatchway into the belly of the Zeppelin. The Zeppelin's elaborate metal framework is exposed. Indy and Henry hurry down a catwalk until arriving at a pair of doorways framed into the Zeppelin's outer skin.
Well, I thought that it would take them a lot longer to figure out the radio was dead. Come on, Dad. Move.
Then Indy opens the doors. We see plenty of blue sky and white clouds. We also see a small biplane that is suspended from the Zeppelin by a hook and crane device.
Come on, Dad. Come on.
Exterior airplane. Indy climbs into the cockpit of the biplane as Henry takes the tail's gunner seat.
I didn't know you could fly a plane.
Fly, yes. Land, no.
Interior of the biplane. Indy turns in his seat to give Henry the thumbs up. Henry smiles valiantly and points down to the ground. Then they both become aware of a strange sound in the skies behind them, something between a roar and a wail. Ooh, this word's gonna be fun. Two Messerschmitt, nailed it, fighter bombers streak out of the clouds and race across the sky. Indy and Henry shrink in their seats as the Messerschmitts, Messerschmitts, going 3 times as fast as they are, screaming past on either side.
Yeah, gonna have to use the machine gun. Get it ready.
Henry turns and grips the mounted machine gun with a perplexed expression.
11 o'clock.
Henry pulls out his watch.
Dad! 11 o'clock!
What happens at 11 o'clock?
Indy uses his arm to demonstrate that he's referring to a direction and not a time.
12, 11, 10, 11 o'clock. Fire!
Henry does, and the exploding gun nearly shakes him out of his seat. Indy's slow speed and small size works to his advantage. The speeding Messerschmitts continually overshoot him, whizzing past in a blur, making wide turns miles away in the sky. Henry has one of the Messerschmitts in his sight. He pulls back on the trigger. Rat-a-tat-tat! Rat-a-tat-tat! The Messerschmitt banks to the left, but Henry keeps it in his gun sight. Henry swings the gun around, inadvertently cutting his own rear stabilizer in half.
Dad, are we hit?
More or less. Son, I'm sorry. They got us.
Indy looks back at the missing tail section, then at his father. The plane begins to go down. Indy struggles to control its descent.
Hang on, Dad. We're going in.
Excuse me. Henry slumps down fearfully in his seat. Exterior, a field. The wheels of the plane touch down. Out of control. The plane skids and crashes first into a corral of goats. Oh no, goats! And then into the farmhouse beyond it, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Ugh, as Indy pulls himself from the cockpit.
Nice landing.
Thanks.
Suddenly, Indy's attention is directed to 2 screaming Messerschmitts coming in low, guns blazing as bullets explode around them. Pew, 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 rat-a-tat-tat. Indy and Henry jump over a stone barricade. Henry, frightened, grabs at Indy.
Those people are trying to kill us.
I know, Dad.
It's a new experience for me.
It happens to me all the time.
Exterior road, an old man kneels at his car repairing a rear tire. The man turns to the wheel, the hubcap in his hands. Suddenly, the wheel moves forward, startling the old man. Interior, the car, traveling. Indy has the throttle down, both hands tightly gripping the steering wheel. Henry is a very nervous passenger. Indy sees a low-flying Messerschmitt coming up behind him in the side mirror. As the Messerschmitt roars by overhead, bullets explode around them, narrowly missing the car.
This is intolerable.
This could be close.
Exterior, the road, long shot. The car races toward a tunnel that cuts through a steep mountainside. The Messerschmitt bears down on Indy's car, machine guns chattering. The car enters the tunnel. The Messerschmitt cannot pull up in time. It slams into the mouth of the tunnel, shearing off its wings. Interior, the tunnel, the flaming fuselage, continues to rocket through the tunnel like a bullet down the muzzle of a gun. That was cute. Nice done. But sparks fly as its belly scrapes against the pavement and the sides of the tunnel. Interior, the car. Indy and Henry look over their shoulders to see this wingless ball of fire gaining on them, about to overtake them.
Faster, boy, faster!
Exterior the road, other side of the mountain. The car exits the tunnel at top speed and veers off the road. The flaming Messerschmitt fuselage shoots past and explodes in the middle of the road. Interior the car. As the car emerges safely from the flames, Henry wipes the sweat from his brow.
Whew. Well, they don't come any closer than that.
Henry looks out the windshield and sees the second Messerschmitt screaming out of the sky toward them. Exterior of the road, long shot. The Messerschmitt drops its single under fuselage bomb. It explodes in the road directly out of the car, missing it only by several feet. The car falls into the hole made by the bomb. Dissolved too, exterior road. Indy climbs out of the car, still in the bomb crater. He turns back to Henry.
Dad, he's coming back.
Indy and Henry run down the mountainside to deserted Mediterranean beach. Indy and Henry run to the shoreline. Indy reaches for his gun. Both reach for the gun. Anyway, tucked in his pants. He opens the chamber. The gun has no bullets. The Messerschmitt swings around and is coming in for another pass. Indy and Henry exchange a wordless glance. They don't even think about running. There is no place to run to. Henry hands his case to Indy, holding his umbrella. Favorite part. Henry suddenly spins around and runs screaming and shouting into a flock of seagulls. Yes, the seagull take to the wing in flight. Thousands of them. Indy bullets kick up and sand and leading up to him, and then the Messerschmitt and the seagulls meet in midair. Massacre by seagulls. Seagulls are shredded by the Messerschmitt's whirling propeller blades into a feathery white puree. Ew. That splatters against the cockpit and clogs the engine. Engine sputters, stalls, silence. The Messerschmitt falls from the skies and explodes in an off-camera sound effect. Indy stands as before, stunned, a statue. Henry walks back to Indy.
I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. Let my armies be the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky.
Well, Indy wears a proud expression as he watches Henry walk down the beach. Exterior mosque, fade-in title, Republic of Hatay. Hatay? Something. Fade-out title. Exterior courtyard of Sultan's Palace, Iskenderun. Day. The Sultan is seated in his royal chair, flanked by Walter Donovan, douche, and Vogel, surrounded by his minions. Donovan holds the missing Grail diary pages.
These pages are taken from Professor Jones's diary, Your Highness, and they include a map that pinpoints the exact location of the Grail.
Donovan and the Sultan walk together through an archway.
As you can see, the Grail is all but in our hands. However, Your Highness, we would not think of crossing your soil without your permission, nor of removing the Grail from your borders without suitable compensation.
What have you brought?
Bring in the shots!
Yes, bring in the shots. Two Nazi soldiers bring forward a huge steamer trunk. They open the lid and begin to empty it of its contents. Gold and silver objects of every description.
Precious valuables, Your Highness, donated by some of the finest families in all of Germany.
The Sultan gets up from his chair and walks towards the trunk. He goes right past it and begins to inspect the Nazi staff car parked nearby.
Rolls-Royce Phantom 2, 4.3 liters, 30 horsepower, 6-cylinder engines with Stromberg downdraft carburetor.
The Sultan points to the engine under the hood.
Can go from 0 to 100 kilometers, an hour in 12.5 seconds. And I even like the color.
The keys are in the ignition, Your Highness.
You should have camels, horses, an armed escort, provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks.
You're welcome.
Somebody else is also taking note, and we see that it is Kazim, the spy at the court. Elsa is revealed coming down the stairs toward Donovan and Vogel. Oh, Elsa.
We have no time to lose. Indiana Jones and his father have escaped.
Exterior is Kinderoon Street. Sala drives his car through the crowded streets, Indy beside him and Henry in the back seat.
We go this way.
Sala waves his arms and shouts to a camel herder.
Get that camel out of the way!
What happened to Marcus, Sala?
They set out to cross the desert this afternoon. I believe they took Mr. Brody with them.
Henry removes his hat and hits Indy with it.
Now they have the map. And in this sort of race, there's no silver medal for finishing second.
Exterior Desert Valley, Elsa and Donovan's party consisting of a supply truck, open car, Turkish soldiers riding camels, spare horses, and a tank, and various other vehicles are all moving through the ramble out of this box canyon. Elsa, Donovan, and Vogel travel in the open car. The tank is a vintage World War I model with enormous treads. The Turkish soldiers wear native dress and carry both carbines and sabers. Brody sits alongside Elsa in the rear of the car carrying Donovan. Donovan hands a canteen back to him.
Care to wet your whistle, Marcus?
I'd rather spit in your face, but as I haven't got any spit.
Vogel snatches the canteen away from Brody before he can drink.
We must be within 3 or 4 miles, otherwise we are off the map.
He hands the map to Elsa, drinks from the canteen, and hands that back to Donovan.
Well, Marcus, we're on the brink of the recovery of the greatest artifact in the history of mankind.
You're meddling with powers you cannot possibly comprehend.
Henry and Sala are at Indy's side as he views Donovan's party in the distance. Parked nearby is a car containing all of their supplies.
I see Brody. Seemed okay. We got a tank, 6-pound gun.
Then Donovan notices a reflection from the hills. What he sees is the sun reflecting off of the lenses of Indy's binoculars.
What do you think you're doing? Get down!
Dad, we're well out of range.
At that moment, the tank fires a shell in their direction. It whistles overhead and blows up the parked car. Indy, Henry, and Sala cover their heads as the automobile fragments rain down upon them.
That car belonged to my brother-in-law.
Come on! Come on!
Exterior Desert Valley.
I can't see anyone up there.
Maybe it wasn't even Jones.
No, it's him all right. He's here somewhere.
Put Brody in the tank.
Kazim peers over a rock, pointing his rifle at the group below.
Well, in this sun, without transportation, they're as good as dead.
Bullets explode off the vehicles and Cliff. Donovan and Elsa duck. A Nazi soldier falls from the tank as bullets explode around him. Kazim's men, brethren of the cruciform sword, continue to fire. Elsa and Donovan take cover beside the parked car.
It's Jones, all right.
Angle on Indy's group. Indy and Henry, followed by Sala, take cover behind a rock to watch Kazim's men and the Nazi troops exchanging fire below them.
Now, who are all these people?
Who cares? As long as they're keeping Donovan busy. Dad, you stay here while Sal and I organize some transportation.
Cut back to the action. The brethren are firing at the Donovan party. Sounds like the Donner party. And are being fired upon by the Donovan party. 2 Nazi soldiers throw hand grenades into the cliffs. They explode, killing one of Kazim's brethren. The battle continues. A fierce exchange of gunshots, grenades, and machine gun fire with losses on both sides. Indy and Sala crouch behind a rock, watching as men on both sides of the battle run amongst camels and horses.
I'm going after those horses.
I'll take the camels.
I don't need camels.
But Indy...
No camels!
Donovan and Elsa, they look down at Kazim, who lies mortally wounded on the ground at their feet. Elsa looks saddened.
Who is he?
A messenger from God. For the unrighteous, the cup of life holds everlasting damnation.
Kazim dies. R.I.P. bro. Indy leaps atop a Turkish soldier on horseback, pulling the man and the horse to the ground. A second Turk comes to assist his comrade. Indy mounts the horse, knocking both Turks to the ground. Interior tank. Brody has been left alone in the tank. Henry climbs down into the tank and taps Brody on the shoulder, startling him.
Marcus!
Well, they exchange an old university club toast, swinging their arms at one another and missing. Then Henry flaps his arm and tugs his ears.
Genius of the restoration.
Now Brody tugs his ears, flaps his arms, and touches his head.
You forgot a handshake, you bastard.
Sorry. And our resuscitation, yeah.
Resuscitation, Travis.
Yeah,
And our resuscitation. Sound it out.
Blame this.
Sound it out. No, it's not the one.
Resuscitation. No, it's not recitation. I said it. They exchanged
Resuscitation.
Resuscitation. Yes, I said.
There you go. They exchange a handshake. And
Henry, what are you doing here?
It's a rescue, old boy. Come on.
as Henry starts to climb out of the tank, 2 Nazi soldiers drop down from above, their Lugers drawn. They are followed by Vogel.
There, champ.
Nazi soldiers point their guns at Henry and Brody.
What is in this book? That miserable little diary of yours.
Vogel removes a glove and slaps Henry with it.
Here's the map. The book is useless, and yet you come all the way back to Berlin to get it. Why?
Slaps Henry again.
What are you hiding?
Another slap.
I tell you that it doesn't tell us.
Vogel reaches out to slap Henry yet again, but Henry grabs his arm, stopping him.
It tells me that goose-stepping morons like yourselves should try reading books instead of burning them.
Donovan appears at the turret cover.
Colonel, Jones is getting away.
I think not, Air Donovan.
Exterior tank.
Not that Jones, the other Jones.
Ah.
Now there's two of them.
Oh, yeah. Exterior Desert Valley. Indy rides away on one horse, leading 3 others as he goes. Sala approaches on horseback, leading 5 camels.
Sala, I said no camels. That's 5 camels. Can't you count?
Oh, compensation for my brother-in-law's car. Indy, your father and Brody.
Where's my father?
They have them in the belly of the steel beast.
Indy and Sala charge forward, leading their horses and camels. Then Vogel commands the tank driver to give chase. Interior tank. Vogel shouts to the tank driver.
Fire the lasers.
Exterior Desert Valley. The tank starts firing at Indy on horseback. He had to do it right before I literally have the longest thing in the world. Damn it, Jeremy. Ugh. The tank starts firing at Indy on horseback. Indy zigs and zags as the tank fires 2 rounds at Indy, barely missing him. Each time Indy emerges from the plume of desert dust, hanging like a toadstool in the air. Okay, toadstool. Interior tank. Henry and Brody hold their hands over their ears. Exterior Desert Valley. Donovan shouts orders to the troops. Indy is followed by various vehicles in the caravan. Indy notices that the side gun is now firing at him. Can only pivot so far. Indy makes a mental note of this, and while riding right in front of the tank, turns his horse completely around 180 degrees. The tank starts to follow. POV through the viewing point. Vogel watches the ground turning 180 degrees as he tries to catch up with Indy. Cleverly, Indy has turned the tank directly into a head-on collision course with some of the pursuit vehicles and a Kuba wagon. The tank and the Kuba wagon smash into each other, the German military sedan becoming lodged between the treads while blocking the front view and any use of the 6-pound cannon on the turret. Indy, meanwhile, leans down on his horse, scooping up a stone from the wall of a culvert. He reins his horse, paralleling the tank, as everyone scurries about inside, looking through the viewing ports, trying to figure out exactly where Indy is. Interior tank. Vogel shouts to the gunner.
Den Kuba wagon trainer. Yeah.
God bless
Gunner
you,
puts a
Jeremy.
shell into the large gun. He fires, catapulting the Kuba wagon into the air where it explodes. The tank drives through the resulting smoke and dust and then rolls over the Kuba wagon, crushing it. Exterior Desert Valley. Indy gallops up to the side cannon and jams a stone down the barrel, lodging several rocks inside, and then he steers the horse directly in range of that gun. Interior tank. The Nazi soldier pushes Henry away from the window.
Kein Bewegung!
He points his gun at Henry and Brody.
Kein Bewegung!
The smaller gun, blocked by the rocks, backfires, blowing the breech out into the face of the gunner, killing him and filling the tank with smoke. Brody, Henry, Vogel, and the driver begin to choke. Exterior Desert Valley. Indy rides his horse alongside the tank.
Dad! Dad! Dad!
Interior tank. Henry and Brody still held at gunpoint by the Nazi soldier.
Junior! Junior! Junior!
The Nazi Nazi soldier swings his fist, knocking Henry off of his seat. Exterior Desert Valley. Smoke pours from the top of the tank as the turret pops open. Vogel emerges and aims his gun at Indy. Indy and Vogel exchange shots as Indy chases the tank on his horse. Indy pulls the trigger again. His gun is empty. Indy immediately takes the high trail. Now Indy is above the tank, 12 feet on a paralleling trail. He moves out of the saddle and leaps from the speeding horse onto the trundling tank. Close up, Vogel hates staring at Indy. Close up, Indy hates staring back at Vogel. Suddenly, from nowhere, a German soldier flies into frame, tackling Indy. Cut to side angle. One of the 2 troop carriers is paralleling the tank, and like pirates boarding a galleon, Nazi soldiers leap over the treads and are swarming all over Indy. Indy is struggling with a German's Luger. Indy presses the Luger against his assailant and forces the Nazi to squeeze off a shot into himself. Ow. Ouch. The bullet not only passes through the Nazi, but passes through 2 other Nazis standing directly behind him on the crowded tank top. And 3 bodies fall away, leaving Indy to stare at the gun in disbelief. Damn. The Germans, they make good guns, I guess. Another soldier leaps from the truck onto the tank and raises his knife as he grabs Indy. They struggle and fall. Indy sits up to see Vogel standing over him. Vogel wraps a chain around Indy's neck. Out. Interior tank. Indy appears at the entrance, the chain still wrapped around his neck and held by Vogel.
Dad!
He drops the gun down into the tank.
Dad! Dad, get in!
Vogel pulls Indy from the tank entrance, yanking on the chain wrapped around his neck. Exterior tank. A Nazi soldier approaches. Indy hits him, knocking him onto the tank tread. The Nazi soldier screams as he is dragged underneath the rolling tank. Ouch. Now, Indy and Vogel struggle with one another, the chain still wrapped around Indy's neck. Just one neck. Doesn't have 2 heads. Interior tank day. Through the periscope, we see Indy and Vogel struggling atop the tank. Indy lifts his feet, lunging toward the periscope and pulling Vogel with him. Indy's face is pressed up against the lens of the periscope. Interior tank. The Nazi soldier looking through the periscope pulls away from it, smiles, then turns back to it. Through the periscope, Indy's face still pressed against the lens. Vogel pulls Indy from the periscope. Interior tank. The Nazi soldier pulls away from the periscope again.
These Amerikaner. Sie kämpfen wie Weiber.
Nice German. Get it, girl. Exterior tank. Indy now lies on top of Vogel. He kicks out at the periscope, which spins around. Interior tank. The periscope handle spins around and hits the periscope soldier in the head. Ouch. He falls against the Nazi soldier guarding Henry and Brody. Henry pushes the Nazi soldier aside and grabs the gun. The periscope soldier struggles to take the gun from Henry. Exterior tank. Vogel holds the chain around Indy's neck, pushing his head downward toward the revolving tread. Interior tank. The periscope soldier holds Henry from behind, forcing the gun toward him. Henry reaches down and pulls a fountain pen from his coat pocket. As the periscope soldier pulls on Henry's face, Henry lifts the fountain pen and squirts ink into his face. The soldier falls, his head smashing into the wall of the tank. At the same time, Henry loses his grip on the gun, which falls to the floor.
Henry, the pen.
What?
But don't you see the pen is mightier than the sword?
Exterior desert valley. A troop truck pulls near the tank. Interior tank. Henry fires the tank gun at the troop truck. Soldiers fly into the air. The troop truck flips over and explodes. Pew pew. Or pew, rather. Sorry. Exterior tank. The explosion knocks Indy off the tank and onto the tread. Ah! He grabs onto this shredded gun protruding from the side of the tank. Vogel looks down at Indy and smiles smugly. Jerk. The tank is approaching the cliff wall, and as Indy tries to secure footing, Vogel steps on his hands. Ouch. Interior tank. Brody looks at Henry.
Look what you did.
It's war.
Exterior tank. Vogel now swings a shovel at Indy, smashing at his hands. Ouch again. Damn. Brody climbs up out of the tank, followed by Henry.
Didn't I tell you? It was a rescue, huh?
A Nazi soldier appears and pulls Henry down. Vogel raises the shovel above his head, and brings it crashing down on Indy, still hanging from the protruding gun. Indy loses his grip and now hangs from the gun, suspended only by the strap of his leather pouch. He screams as the gun scrapes against the cliff wall, sending stones tumbling down over him. Interior tank. The Nazi soldier knocks Henry into a pile of boxes, then punches him in the face. As the soldier raises the gun to Henry's face, Brody hits him over the head with a canister. The soldier falls, discharging the gun into the air. The bullet ricochets around the tank, past the tank driver, who is manipulating levers at the control panel. Sparks fly, and then the bullet pings against the window and ricochets once more, this time passing through the tank driver's hat. Ugh. Blood flows from under the hat, and as the tank driver slumps forward, his body depressing the levers. Exterior tank. Indy still hangs from the strap of his leather pouch as the tank swerves, barely missing the rocks and causing Vogel to fall. Indy finally manages to pull himself atop the tank once more, where he punches Vogel over the side, then peers down to Henry, still in the tank.
Dad.
You call this archaeology?
Get out of there, Dad.
Indy pulls Henry and Brody from the tank. Vogel pulls himself back atop the tank, armed again with the shovel, when he swings at Indy, who ducks and grabs Vogel's arm.
How does one get off this thing?
As Indy winds up to punch Vogel, he catches Brody in the face on the backswing, then completes the movement and knocks Vogel down. Interior tank. Vogel's hat sails in and falls to the floor. Exterior tank.
Where's Marcus?
Before Indy can answer, Vogel is up and swinging the shovel. Indy ducks, but the shovel catches Henry, sending him over the side and onto the moving tread. Indy grabs his whip, knocking Vogel aside. As Henry speeds toward the front of the tank to certain doom, Indy, with lightning speed, whips out his bullwhip, wrapping the end of the whip around Henry's right ankle.
Dad!
Henry is bouncing across the treads like a rag doll. Indy struggles to hold on to the end of the bullwhip.
Hang on, Dad.
Sala draws his horse next to the treads. He tips his fez to Henry. Oh, Sala. He tips his head.
Yeah, sorry guys. The roommate came in and the dog is going. Father of Indy, give me your hand.
Vogel now punches Indy in the back and grabs him around the neck. Still, Indy refuses to let go of the whip.
Sala, get Dad!
Sala reaches out to Henry.
Give me your hand.
Sala manages to hold on to Henry as he brings his horse to a stop just at the cliff's edge. Indy finally frees himself of Vogel's grasp, twisting his arm painfully away from Indy's neck, then landing a hard blow to Vogel's head. Indy looks down to the fast approaching cliff, his face filled with horror. We see his hat blow off and sail over the cliff's edge. Vogel sees his life passing before him. He screams at the top of his lungs. Long shot. The tank trundles over the cliff and plummets to the bottom, exterior cliff edge. Henry, Brody, and Sala look down at the flaming wreckage of the tank.
Junior?
We hear the tank exploding.
Indy!
Oh, God. I've lost him. And I never told him anything. I just wasn't ready, Marcus. 5 minutes would have been enough.
And then, looking dazed and bewildered, Indy staggers up behind them. He joins the others at the edge of the cliff, looking down at the wreckage below with a bewildered expression. Finally, Henry becomes aware of his presence. Henry says nothing. He just looks at Indy, overcome with emotion. Finally, he throws his arms around him.
I thought I'd lost you, boy.
After a moment, Indy's head clears and he becomes aware of his father's embrace, something he hasn't felt in a long time, if ever. What? Rude. And it touches him. He hugs his father back.
I thought you had too, sir.
Brody and Sala are moved by this sudden reconciliation.
Well done. Come on.
Henry pats Indy on the back and Indy collapses, sitting hard on the rocky cliff edge. Unaware, Henry, Sala, and Brody start to walk away. Henry turns back to see Indy still sitting on the ground.
Let's go then. Why are you sitting there resting when we're so near the end? Come on, let's go.
Henry turns and walks toward the horse with Brody and Sala. Suddenly, the fedora, borne on the wind, blows into the scene and lands at Indy's feet. Exterior mountain road. Donovan peers through binoculars to see the canyon of the crescent moon. He lowers the binoculars and turns to Elsa.
Canyon of the Crescent Moon.
Now Elsa peers through the binoculars. Exterior secret canyon. Indy, Henry, and Sala and Brody added an extra and right into the canyon. They hear a wailing wind, feel the biting cold, and they sense the danger. Now we turn a corner and we see the hidden city. Its spectacular Grecian facade is carved directly into the rock. It is a stunning sight. The vehicles, camels, and horses belonging to Donovan's party have been left at the entrance. Cut to interior temple. Indy, Sala, Henry, and Brody creep forward to see the terrified face of a Turkish soldier. He's walking slowly, eyes darting, muttering a prayer under his breath. What's going on here? Full shot inside the mountain temple. What? Where is my place? There we go. The Turk stands alone in the center of the temple. It is very dark. Giant columns define the temple's perimeter. Elsa and Donovan watch him from a safe distance. The Turk is about to approach the spot where a Turkish soldier lies dead. We don't notice it right away, but the dead soldier has been decapitated. The Turk soldier stops, only one step away from the beheaded soldier. The Turk takes one more step. A fatal step, it turns out. We hear a roar, a whoosh of air, but we see nothing except the Turk's head fly off and bounce across the ground. Ugh. Indy, Henry, Brody, and Sala react to the sight. Elsa and Donovan, she looks at him, horrified.
Helmets, another volunteer.
Two Nazi soldiers force another Turk forward. Suddenly, the sound of rifle bolts are being caught. Everyone turns to discover Indy and his party surrounded by Nazi soldiers. Indy's group are relieved of their guns. Full shot, the temple. Indy, Henry, Brody, and Sala are brought forward by the Nazi soldiers. Elsa's eyes light up, glad Indy's not dead. She controls herself and continues more coldly.
I never expected to see you again.
I'm like a penny. I always turn up.
Step back now, Dr. Schneider. Give Dr. Jones some room. He's going to recover the Grail for us.
Indy laughs.
Impossible? What do you say, Jones? Ready to go down in history?
As what? A Nazi stooge like you?
Nazis. Is that the limit of your vision? The Nazis want to write themselves into the Grail legend and take on the world. Well, they're welcome. But I want the Grail itself, the cup that gives everlasting life. Hitler can have the world, but he can't take it with him. I'm going to be drinking my own health when he's gone the way of the dodo. The Grail is mine, and you're going to get it for me.
Shooting me won't get you anywhere.
For something, Dr. Jones, you're absolutely right.
And Donovan shifts his aim just a bit and shoots Henry. Ah! The bullet enters his side below the ribs.
Dad!
Junior.
No!
Get back.
Henry collapses, blood flowing from the wound. Brody and Sala rush to his assistance. Indy spins toward Donovan with murder in his eyes. Donovan points the gun at him.
You can't save him when you're dead.
Indy hesitates.
The healing power of the Grail is the only thing that can save your father now. It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Indy takes in the situation. The two decapitated men lie a few yards in front of him. He walks to the entranceway, flanked by two stone lions. We get a silent reaction shots. Elsa, Sala, Brody, Donovan, registering their different emotions. They've got the feels. Indy proceeds forward. His hands open the Grail diary.
Breath of God. Only the penitent man will pass. Only the penitent man will pass.
Indy takes a few steps forward.
The penitent man will pass. The penitent man.
Indy stops. He's just about to reach a spot where the two men have just died. Henry looks at Indy, and Indy looks at Henry.
Only the penitent man will pass. Only the penitent man will pass.
The penitent man will pass. The penitent. The penitent.
The penitent.
Penitent man.
The penitent man.
It's timing.
Indy takes a step forward through the cobwebs.
Penitent man is humble before God.
Penitent. Penitent.
Penitent man is humble.
The cobwebs begin to move.
He kneels before God. Kneel!
We hear the awful rush of air, whoosh, because Indy is in the act of kneeling. Only his hat is knocked off and his hair flies in his face. Instinctively, he rolls forward on the ground out of harm's way and looks up. From his new position, he is able to see what is causing all the trouble. A razor-sharp triple pendulum. Indy gets cautiously to his feet. Now he sees the pendulum has been guarding a small corridor which turns the corner to the left 50 yards ahead. Wooden wheels turn the mechanism controlling the spinning blades. Indy loops a rope around the wheels, jamming the mechanism and stopping the blades in mid-swipe.
I'm through.
Elsa and Donovan.
We're through.
Brody and Sala smile, relieved.
He's all right.
Henry shakes his head.
No.
Back to Indy, holding the Grail diary, reading once again his fedora, now covered in cobwebs.
Second challenge is the word of God. Only in the footsteps of God will he proceed. The word of God. The word of...
Indy pulls away some cobwebs to reveal a cobblestone path. Each cobble is engraved with a letter.
Proceed in the footsteps of the word.
Henry lifts his head painfully.
The word of God.
No, Henry, try not to talk.
The name of God.
Back to Indy as he studies the cobblestones before him.
The name of God. Jehovah.
Henry still lies in Sala's arms. Brody leans over him.
But in Latin, Jehovah is spelt with an I.
Back to Indy.
J.
Indy takes a step and is immediately, he shooketh because a stone breaks away and Indy falls up to his hip, his leg stuck through the hole where the stone once was. Henry reacts.
Oh dear.
And back to Indy, who grunts as he pulls himself from the hole, the Grail diary still in his hand.
In Latin, the Jehovah starts with an I. I.
Now we see each letter on the stones as Indy carefully walks forward. Donovan and Elsa follow in his footsteps.
E. H. O. V. A.
Indy sighs with relief and steps forward to the great abyss. Indy stands in a small opening. Here's Anne's favorite part. I'm just kidding. Just small enough for his shoulders to squeeze through, and beyond that, 100-foot drop to the rocks below and 100 feet across. Nothing but a rough, stony cliff wall back to Indy. He can see nowhere to cross. He looks again to the Grail diary.
The path of flood. Only in the leap of the lion's head will he prove his worth.
Indy looks around, and then he notices that inscribed into the rock above his head is the head of a lion.
Impossible. No one can jump this.
Indy looks down into the diary and tortures over what it is asking him to do. Brody rushes forward and calls to Indy.
Indy, you must hurry. Come quickly. Please.
Back to Indy.
It's a leap of faith. Oh, God.
Henry calls to his son.
You must believe, boy. You must believe.
We see him do it. We see him leap into space. We see he's in midair. We see that he's not going to make it. His hands claw for the opposite wall, but he is going to fall 100 feet to his death. And then he doesn't. He appears to be held up by thin air as he lands on his hands and knees. And he looks around and down, and now he figures it out. Ingeniously, the first Crusaders have painted a pathway to align with the rocks 100 feet below. It is a perfect forced perspective image of the rocks below, with lines from 100 feet continuing 6 feet below his sight line from where his feet are stepping. It's painted to blend in with the rocks below, highly evolved camouflage in perfect alignment with everything we see below. When Indy leans out to the left or right, that's when he sees the perfect alignment shift that betrays the trick. Indy throws some dirt on the bridge, and he crosses it like the first Crusader from the painting over Henry's desk. Indy crawls through a small opening in the side of the cliff and enters a temple. A vast array of chalices is displayed on the altar of this small temple, perhaps 100 or more, many sizes, many shapes, some gold, some silver, but they all glitter and shine. Indy is mesmerized by their number and their beauty, and then he realizes that a man is praying at the altar. He has his back turned to Indy, but he is dressed as what he is, a Grail Knight. Close on the Grail Knight. But we can't see the Grail Knight's face. The visor of his helmet is down. Perhaps we see his eyes. And then the Grail Knight sees Indy. He gets warily to his feet and surprisingly prepares to give combat. Taking up his two-handed broadsword, he comes at Indy, attempting to swing the huge, heavy sword, but finding the efforts almost too much. Indy dodges 2 or 3 clumsy swings of the sword, making no attempt to fight back until the knight, exhausted, drops the sword and collapses. Indy approaches him and raises the visor, and we see that the knight is a very ancient man.
I knew you'd come, but my strength has left me.
Who are you?
The last of the 3 brothers who swore an oath to find the Grail and guard it.
That was 700 years ago.
A long time to wait.
The Grail Knight reaches forward and fingers Indy's clothing.
You're strangely dressed for a knight.
I'm not exactly a knight. What do you mean?
I was chosen because I was the bravest and the most worthy. The honor was mine until another came to challenge me to single combat. I pass it to you, who vanquished me.
I will now say giggity. I was waiting for vanquish me, people. Okay, the Grail Knight holds its sword out to Indy.
You'll have to explain that one to me later. Listen, I don't have time to explain, but...
At that moment, Donovan and Elsa appear. Donovan turns to face the display of cups.
What is it?
You must choose. But choose wisely, for as the true Grail will bring you life, the false Grail will take it from you.
I'm not a historian. I have no idea what it looks like. Which one is it?
Let me choose.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh shit. Elsa and Indy exchange looks. Giggity. He thinks he is seeing her in her true colors. Elsa chooses a cup, a solid gold, emerald encrusted goblet. Donovan instantly takes it from her.
Ah, yes, it's more beautiful than I'd ever imagined. This certainly is the cup of the King of Kings.
Donovan rushes to the well and fills the goblet with water.
Eternal life.
Donovan drinks from the goblet. And then Donovan's entire body starts to convulse. Blah, 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 blah. His face contorts in agony. Die, Nazi, die. He grabs his stomach as he turns toward Elsa.
What is happening to me?
He starts to age and fast. Whoa! His hair grows long and gray and brittle. His face sinks. Fingernails curl back on themselves. Milky cataracts coat his eyes. Ew! Elsa gasps and screams.
What is happening?
His skin turns brown and leathery and stretches across his bones until it splits. His skeletal hands reach for Elsa's throat, choking her. Indy rushes forward and pushes Donovan away as he falls. His body breaks into flames and then shatters against the wall.
He chose poorly.
Yeah, he did. Indy studies the array of chalices.
It would not be made out of gold.
Indy picks up another cup, a simple earthenware jug.
That's the cup of the carpenter.
He and Elsa exchange a look.
There's only one way to find out.
Indy goes to the well and fills the earthenware jug with water and then pauses. Indy brings the jug to his lips and then takes several large swallows. A strange sensation overcomes him, like a feeling of peace and contentment, and we see his wounds begin to heal.
You have chosen wisely, but the Grail cannot pass beyond the Great Seal. That is the boundary and the price of immortality.
Katu, Brody, and Sala, who attend to Henry awaiting Indy's return. Indy and Elsa come forward with the Grail. The two Nazi soldiers are overawed by the possessors of the Grail. They put down their guns and kneel. Indy kneels by Henry's side and tilts his head forward and holds the Grail to his lips. Henry is too weak to even open his eyes. Henry swallows some of the water. Much of it runs down the corners of his mouth. Finally, Indy pours the water over the wound, and everyone watches in astonishment as the wound and the blood stain disappear before their eyes. The color returns to Henry's face. Henry's eyes open. The first thing he sees is the Grail, and they light up. Then they shift to Indy's face, and they light up even more. Yay! Nazi soldiers run forward. Sala points a rifle at them.
Drop your guns, please.
The Nazi soldiers drop their weapons at their feet and raise their arms in surrender.
Dad, come on. Get to your feet.
Elsa steps forward and picks up the Grail. Oh, you greedy bitch. She turns to Indy, her face alight with the possession of the Grail.
It's ours, Indy. Yours and mine.
Uh-oh, she stepped onto the seal. Oh no, she's on the edge of it.
Elsa, don't move. Elsa,
We have the Grail. We finally have the Grail.
Elsa, don't cross the seal. The knight warned us not to take the Grail from here.
A rumbling sound is heard and the ground roars and shifts. Dirt falls from the ceiling of the cavern. Elsa falls on the great seal. Ruh-roh. The Grail bounces away from her grasp. Uh-oh. She reaches for it and the ground beneath her begins to split open. Elsa slips into the crevasse. She screams. Elsa is fearlessly in the abyss. Yup, girl, you are screaming into the abyss. With the Grail almost within her reach. As her hands lose their grip, Indy almost just manages to, well, he does actually just manage to grab one of them, he himself sliding forward across the slanted floor.
Junior!
With her free hand, Elsa is trying to get the Grail. Indy can't save her unless she gives him her free hand. She has to choose.
Elsa, don't. Elsa.
I can reach it.
Give me your other hand, honey. I can't hold you.
Yep, Elsa just manages to touch the Grail, and in doing so, she has tipped the balance too far. Indy slides down another yard. I am about to sneeze. Elsa loses her grip and falls screaming to her death.
Elsa!
Give me a good splat sound, Elsa. I think I have one more sneeze. Nope, I'm good. Okay, all right. Now the ledge Indy lies upon begins to break apart. Henry grabs one of his hands as Indy struggles to reach the Grail with the other.
Junior, give me your hand. Give me your other hand. I can't hold on.
I can get it. I can almost reach it, Dad.
Indy looks down into the black, bottomless pit beneath him from which nothing can ever be retrieved.
Indiana? Indiana.
Come on, Indiana. Indy snaps up his face to look. Blah, blah, blah. Indy snaps his look up to his father. His father has never called him this before.
Let it go.
Literally. Indy abandons the Grail and grabs onto Henry with both hands. Henry pulls him up to safety. The Grail Knight looks through the falling debris to Indy and Henry. Sala and Brody rush from the crumbling temple.
Dad.
The Grail Knight raises his arm to Henry.
Please, Dad.
Indy and Henry down the passageway, just as a huge stone column tumbles down to a spot where they just stood. The Grail Knight lowers his arm as he watches them leave. Exterior entrance to Mountain Temple, afternoon. Oh my God, no, stop running. I know. Indy, Henry, Sala, and Brody emerge from the Mountain Temple through the Grecian facade. From within the Mountain Temple, the roars of walls caving in is heard. A cloud of dust and smoke billows out from the entrance. Henry turns to Indy.
Elsha never believed in the Grail. She thought she had found a prize.
What did you find, Dad?
Me? Illumination.
Henry and Indy mount their horses. Henry turns back to his son.
What did you find, Junior?
Junior? Come on, Dad.
Please. What does it always mean, this Junior?
That's his name. Henry Jones, Jr.
I like Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
May we go home now, please?
The dog? You named after the dog.
Got a lot of fond memories of that dog.
Indiana the Husky. A moment passes as they all ready their mounts, and Sala continues to laugh at Indy.
Ready?
Ready.
Indy, Henry, follow me. I know the way.
Got lost in his own museum, huh?
Uh-huh.
After you, Junior.
Yes, sir. Yeah!
Exterior of the secret canyon. They thunder through the canyon, whose towering walls threaten to collapse upon them. Exterior entrance to canyon sunset. As Brody, Indy, Henry, and Sala ride from the canyon towards the setting sun. Fade out. The end.
What a masterpiece of a movie this is.
Absolutely. I love this movie so much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys. You all did an amazing job.
Happy birthday,
All of
Anne.
Happy birthday, Anne.
Thank you. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Anne.
You guys, literally, I love this so much. If you're watching this, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed and have a good night.
Like and subscribe.